Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast presents episode 725. So much power, so little story. Recorded live on March 19th, 2020. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast. I am your host, Duststorm.
I'm your co-host, Godzilla T.
And we are joined by some guests. We've been rolling the guest train out a lot this year. For those watching the live stream, you will see them below me on the stream. But we have the host from the Finish the Fight, a Halo podcast. That makes sense. We have Jesse and Alex on. Thank you guys for being on the show.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great.
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
We've been trying to get this set up for a while. We actually had you guys scheduled about a month ago, and then that fell through with some scheduling conflicts. But you guys are finally here, on the podcast, and we're happy to have you guys on.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, we've also just been chatting in general for, like 6 months now or something? I've been in, contact.
Yeah. So. With the whole thing that we're doing with some of the other podcasts, which hopefully there'll be some news about that here pretty soon. But yeah, with all that discussion going on and just all the other new podcasts that have been coming up from last year, it's been a pretty interesting last few months.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely cool to see that there is like a community out here for that kind of stuff, because I didn't really realize that there was.
Yeah, so it's been fun. It's been fun to kind of get to know everybody, run this through, and just kind of see what we're even doing.
Yeah, especially since we're coming up on a year on this.
Yeah.
Well, very nice. Thank you guys for joining us on the show. For those that are listening to us, we're going to do things a little bit different tonight because our guests have some limited time. So we're going to move some things around and kind of jumble things up a little bit. So Alex and Jesse, we have a couple of questions that we normally ask new guests on the show. So we'll start with those, and we'll go ahead and start with Jesse on this one. And then we'll do Alex. How did you first get involved with Halo? What was the first thing that really got you into Halo?
So I was really, really late to the game, kind of late, but I'd played just a handful of custom matches with my buddy on Halo 2. Thought nothing of it. And it wasn't till my buddy came over for the weekend and brought his 360, and we played a bunch of Halo 3, and it was the campaign more than anything that stuck out. And that's really what got me sucked in, and I went back and I played the rest of them. I think shortly afterwards, Halo 3 ODST had came out, but I really looked it over until I had after beat Reach. But 3 for me is what sucked it in and just took a hold of me, because really I think just opening up the main menu and hearing that music for the first time, because before then I wasn't really a serious gamer. I'm not now by any stretch of the imagination, but I sure as hell wasn't then. And so definitely just being able to kind of soak that all in, kind of seeing that. And after I did a playthrough of the campaign, I think I did it like 3 or 4 more times within the course of a week or so. And I just knew that this was something I really liked. It was really different, especially for first-person shooters, which wasn't necessarily my bread and butter. So I kind of fell for it.
Okay, very nice. Alex, how about you?
So I started a bit earlier than that. I think I was 9 or 10 when I started playing, because I had a friend who pretty much always got the new tech. So got an Xbox right when it came out, got Halo, and brought it over, and he's like, hey, I got this fun game, and we played, split screen for hours and hours and hours, just on the multiplayer itself, going through CE, going through just every map, seeing where the power weapons were, having fun with rockets, and just all those aspects of it. It was super fun, and that just kind of led me down the path to then eventually getting an Xbox, followed with 360, and so on from there.
Very nice. Sounds like you guys have a pretty good... so Jesse, you mentioned Halo 3, which at this point is Bungie era, call that classic Halo or not classic Halo or whatever, but you guys have a little bit of history to Halos, so that's really cool to hear. Second question, and we'll start with Alex on this side of things.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you motivated to keep investing time into the Halo franchise?
I think one big thing with it is just the community that brings it back. Because my games were definitely Halo CE 2 and 3. Like, that's definitely where I always come back to. That's definitely like the multiplayer I enjoy. And so being able to, especially with MCC, jump back and play those, and I guess a lot of it too is nostalgia at some point. Because I've gone through 4 and 5 and everything kind of in between there, but I always kind of really bring it back there and play that multiplayer and play through the campaigns. And that's really the aspect that I truly enjoy in the end result, is playing more, I guess, in the PvE than in like PvP multiplayer aspects of it, and just seeing how the story plays out, seeing how I can change up the weapons and certain things. And I guess going through that, it's really what has kept me in. And now going back through a lot of like the novels and graphic novels that I remember reading as a kid, like that's been such a really like injection of nostalgia as well. And just, I guess a lot of that's bringing back to why we really started the podcast, was doing those aspects.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a little more detail here in just a moment. Jesse, what about you?
I mean, believe it or not, I think after Halo 4, I went on a lull for a little bit. When Halo 5 came out, it was one of those things I was like, oh, Halo 5's out. Like, I should probably go play this game. The only thing I had saw was that reveal trailer whenever Chief's in the desert and the Guardian pops up. That's the only thing I knew about that game. So afterwards, I played that, and then I kind of went back on a lull for a little bit. But I think it was more just over the past like year or so, a little before FTF, like I just started playing the games more and more, and I started talking to my friends again about it. And as Alex said, I think it was just more of that nostalgia trip. Really started thinking back on like, you know, like the quote unquote glory days for me were Reach, when I was actually semi-serious about how I performed in multiplayer. So just getting back online with friends and, you know, dusting off the controllers. And I think really it's just like you're instantly just like sucked back to that era of like feeling like you're in high school again for us, and just staying up till 4 or 5. And then after that, I just started going back to the campaigns. I started replaying all those. And I think like, at least for me, you know, my favorite era is Bungie era. So playing 2, 3, ODST and Reach, I mean, those things for me, those campaigns are timeless. I think I could play them once and be fine, or play them 100 times and still be fine with them.
Cool. You guys like a lot of the, again, I'll use the term classic Halo.
Yeah, I mean,
sounds like.
I mean, it is at this point. It's odd to say, but yeah, like having games come out 13 years ago that at the time seemed like yesterday. It's bizarre and crazy.
It's always interesting hearing the community talk about what's classic Halo or not classic Halo, because everyone's like, well, if you look at 5 years ago, that's when MCC came out, and then Halo 4 was not too long before then. So what defines as classic Halo? So you have to specify, well, do you mean like Bungie era Halo versus 343 era, or do you mean like Halo 1, 2, 3? I mean, some people are like, classic Halo is Halo CE, and that is the only classic Halo because that was the original.
I mean, it's odd because it's a subjective term. I'd say like, hell, 4 is probably going to start pushing it another year or so. I'd say that 10-year mark, I think, would go for like a classic, I guess.
So if they just stop producing now, you just call all Halo classic in 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Well, there's the whole thing of Infinite possibly being a games as a service type thing. So you have Infinite running its 10-year course. Classic Halo is anything that's not Halo Infinite at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there you go. I never thought about it that way.
Well, I think in automotive, technically to become a classic, it has to be a minimum 20 years.
Okay, so CE is classic.
So we're one off. Well, one off, and they're almost there.
Almost.
The video game industry is still relatively new compared to a whole bunch of other things. Like,
yeah.
So
of course, you know, in the electronics world, you know, anything that's 6 months old is the classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, wait a minute, that was obsolete. Never mind.
New phone.
Yeah.
New video card. New microphone.
Yeah, it could definitely be. It almost like can give you anxiety trying to keep up with everything, because now it's to the point every year a new phone comes out. It's going to be every few years we're getting some kind of new console, something like that.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep up with every few years, and
hey man, when you push off buying some of these new consoles, I just got a Switch, and all of a sudden they're saying that they're gonna be putting something out new here soon.
No, they're not.
Correct me. Oh, well, I read an article saying they would.
Well, it's gonna be an update to it. It's not gonna be a new system.
Well,
that's all right.
I still have.
Yeah, I don't see Nintendo building a new system.
No, we're gonna ride this for a while.
At least another year.
There's gonna be 17 iterations of the Switch before they even talk about what the next project's gonna be.
Well, how many different 3DSs did they have? Because there was the 3DS and then the 3DS XL and then the 2DS and
and then the new 3DS and the new 2DS and a couple of those that came out after that. I like that they just added words like it's the new one. It's the same thing, but it's newer. It's the same thing with new Super Mario Brothers. It's just use it. Just use that word. That way it's classic because it's new all the time.
Yeah,
that word's gonna get abused so much.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
at least it's not the other one.
Which one?
I'm not saying it.
Swing and a miss on my part.
I'm not saying it.
There's a couple of different things I'm thinking of that could be what you're talking
There's
about.
one specific YouTuber that uses it a lot.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Oh, I do.
Anyway, on to the next thing.
All right, so I guess we'll move on from that one. So Alex and Jesse, since you're here, someone said in the chat.
No.
Someone said in the chat.
Fuchs is banned now. I'm banning Fuchs.
Oh, jeez. So Alex and Jesse, you guys started the podcast last year among, I think, 6 or 7 other podcasts at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about what Finish the Fight Halo podcast is about. For those who may not have listened to you before.
So really, just to go back, I guess, further, before I was doing Finish the Fight, I was doing a fitness culture podcast, and I had been running my course with that for about 2 years. And it was to the point that I kind of really got sick of talking about that stuff. And I realized there was no real content to be had there. And so Alex and I were at one of his Christmas parties, and I just threw it out there as a joke, and he was just kind of like, yeah, let's do it. And so I don't think we realized what we were getting into, in the sense that we had both talked about how we were really more curious about the backstory of a lot of this stuff. I always found myself watching the Vidocs of every Halo game that came out, and I thought, this clearly isn't all the information out there. There's so much more to learn about that you could find, elsewhere online. And so I came to him with that idea a few months later when I was finally hey man, listen, my other podcast kind of running its course. I'm kind of just sick of doing that. And I literally kept bringing up Halo on that podcast, and they were just shut up. I was like, okay, well, screw you guys. I'm going to start my own podcast with Halo. And so I brought it to Alex. Alex was all about it. We spent a few months just conceptualizing it, really dialing everything down. So for us, I think we want to use it as a platform to where it's grown into a community, which, Alex headed that. I had no idea that's what would happen. I thought this was just going to be a podcast and that's it. But through Discord and everything else, it's really grown from that. And really, we just want to be kind of, I guess it's cheesy to say, but an educational platform for if you want to know something about the development of Halo 3, listen to us. If you want to learn about this author and what he did or where he was at when he was writing this book, then listen to our episode about that book. So it's really we're trying to be as informative as humanly possible.
Yeah, it's much more on the research end of everything, less of the gameplay aspect, because if we do a game episode, we'll do kind of a quick overview of the campaign just as for a refresher, or if for some reason no one's played it, just to get an idea of what's happening. But for the most part, it's the development cycle, what goes into the music, what goes into marketing, how was the final release, how was reception, and what actually happened? What happened to a portion of that game? Why were we told that we were getting this, but it turned out that we weren't getting this? What happened in the development cycle of that? So that's one of our really big things we like to do, and coming from more of a research journalistic background, taking that aspect of it, because there's plenty of other people who've already kind of done a little bit of everything else. So we kind of wanted to add stuff to the community with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys do a very good job with it. You are very detailed. You guys get into the weed of a lot of things, and it's really interesting to see because there's some stuff that when listening to you guys talk about, and you guys kind of start with the initial games and books that I hadn't even heard about. Like one of the things that I guess is that sticks out most to me, and I'm not sure why, is I think for the Halo Wars episode that you did, you'd mentioned that Forge was inspired by Bruce Willis or some other Hollywood star.
Yeah, I believe so. And I mean, I can't tell you it just an interview with someone, but yeah, little things like that's kind of like why we want to do this, is that way you can take away something and just say that and just be like, oh, this guy was, you can say that you like that one thing, which is kind of obscure, sticks out to you. Because like, even then, like, even if it leads to an hour of research just to find that one thing, like I want something to stick out for people.
And it's very fascinating what you guys do with the research. Is I don't think, well, there's been some YouTubers that have done stuff like that kind of dig into some of that stuff, but you guys really take a holistic view at it. You look at the game's development, like you said, kind of like the background behind making the soundtrack, making the music, all these other influences that affect different pieces of whether it's the games, the novels, the comics, and that kind of stuff. So it's you guys are very thorough and very detailed in your approach, and it's really cool to see what you guys research and come up with.
Thank you.
Yeah,
because a lot of it boils down to, like you said, taking it from an outside perspective, not just because we do share opinions with it, but because Jesse knows my opinion with Halo Reach and his opinion with Halo Reach. But it's really getting down to that aspect that I was talking about of what actually went into it. Like, we know how the game looks, we know how it ends, we know how it plays, but who really worked on it? How many people were in there? What studio shifts changed? With Halo Wars, like, how did Ensemble work, and how did all these like studios work with them, and what really went on to get either the game you love or the game you hate, or like everything in between those, and to get an appreciation of just the hard work and dedication that went in to create these things.
Yeah, it's really cool to see like the whole basically concept to delivery. You guys go through that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun. I know, like, I end up just chatting Alex's ears off sometimes. Like, we call all the time just to talk about, like, what are we doing for the podcast, this or that. And I somehow like slip into like what I've learned, and I start just talking his ear off, and he's like, stop. We're not talking about that right now. We need to talk about, this or that. But I definitely don't even think that we expected to do the amount of work that we put into this podcast. I think it was supposed to be a very casual thing, but it was just very quickly. We're just like, we could definitely expand upon this. Mm-hmm. So let's expand upon this, or we can expand upon that. So it's definitely nice. I mean, it's what I spend, such a good amount of my free time doing at this point. And now that basically a lot of people are quarantining themselves or just avoiding public, I think that's going to make my research a lot easier. So silver lining, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. About how long does it take you guys to research a particular episode? Because I know you guys release sometimes every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, depending on how much time you need to research the next topic. And you have your patrons kind of help dictate some of the topics that you discuss. So how long does that research take, and what kind of methods do you use to research the topics that you talk about?
So definitely game episodes will take the longest. That's why when we first started, we said we're going to do this every 2 weeks, just because Alex, at the time was super, super busy, and just to make sure that we have enough time. And there have been times that we were very fortunate that we had 2 weeks. And then once a month we do a bonus episode. But I'd say to spitball right now, I put about 70 hours into our Halo Reach episode, give or take 50 hours into our Halo 3 episode. And with every new episode that we do that's closer to 2020, there's more and more research going into it. So
yeah, there's just more and more sources available online, and more interviews that are out there, because you had more gaming sites at that point. Mm-hmm. You had more journalists that were going out to do those things. A lot more companies were being either transparent or trying to push their marketing a lot more. So you're seeing a lot more of those things that are available to be around, instead of trying to use Wayback Machine on Bungie's site and attempt to find a page that still loads to find some of the data that we need.
Which is still something we find ourselves doing every now and again. But it's definitely like, I'm working on Halo 4 right now, which is coming out in a few months. And that one has been just a giant beast in it of itself. I'm probably over halfway done with the research by that. But I'm probably like 70 or 80 hours into research with that. Because when I get home from the gym every night, I probably do about 2 or 3 hours worth of research. And at work, my lunch break is just I run to the kitchen, I just shove food in my mouth, and then I go back and I set up my computer and I do research for lunch. So definitely, and it's not that like there's ever been a pressure about that, because early on, Alex has always been like, hey man, like you can, because I've never expressed being truly stressed about it, but Alex has always been like, if this is too much, back up. And I'm like, I just love doing this. I love digging in there and just trying to find obscure things. Because one thing, it was like one of the final things I found in Halo 3 ODST research. It was an interview with Joe Staten X amount of years ago, right before the game came out. And they had said that there was going to be a garbage truck mode where it was almost like you were finding items and taking them back. And that's the only time I had saw that. I think I saw one other time afterwards, but I just got like so excited because I'm like, cool. I had no idea that existed. Sounds kind of dumb, but I love it. Into the episode. But then,
very nice.
Yeah. And then like with you touched on our bonus episodes, those are definitely kind of a relaxed fit where our patrons, we give them 4 options, they vote on it, and then that's just where we can be not so much into the research, but more. It's
definitely lighter. It definitely gives us time to either cover, like the one that is releasing in a couple minutes is going to be Dr. Halsey's journal. So we just do a deep dive into that from Halo Reach Collector's Edition.
Yeah, limited legendary.
Yeah, so we just did a dive into that just to kind of talk about it before we're getting to our later books that we're reading. And then we've got another one coming out for patrons tonight as well that they voted on. So it allows us to do a bit of research, whether it's a fun topic currently in the community or just another aspect that adds into a game we just talked about or a book we just read, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's also content that like can be an hour or less and still be something that people are asking about, because we've had, people say, you should talk about this. Well, that's a 10-minute YouTube video. Like, we don't want to make people wait 2 minutes or 2 weeks to listen to a 15-20 minute episode, and that's if we really expand upon it. So bonus episodes are definitely just for that. So because definitely a few ideas that the community has had have definitely made their way in there.
Okay. Very cool. We have a running gag here on the show because I think this was maybe 2-3 years ago when we started actually trying to catch up with the books, GT?
When someone started to catch up with the books.
Yeah. He's talking about me. But
I wasn't going to name any names, but since you said so.
I think we kind of knew what it was being alluded to. Anyways, since we've been kind of catching up, Halsey's journal has been one of those things that we really haven't touched because it's just all over the place. Like, and I've looked through it once or twice, and it's definitely a lot to take in. So I'm definitely curious to listen to your guys' analysis and research on it, which might help lead us into actually doing it on the show finally.
That's as far as I've ever made it.
We have a couple people in the chat that are already calling it out, saying someone said Halsey's journal.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's like when you say cookie to a kid,
or cookie to me. I get excited.
I do have mine out right here, so
yeah, I remember I was working thirds when I first had it, and I read it, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like, I'm really surprised there's no like official release for this, because I think that's one of the coolest things, and you had mentioned it too, in like some kind of legendary edition or something, and you had said you would love to see more stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a whole other topic, but I wish games would do more like that, but that's just so much more money when most stuff's digital now. But yeah, stuff like that is it's such a neat lore building tool that does lead into Glasslands eventually and a couple other aspects of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
sorry.
This is one of the reasons I bought the Legendary Edition. This is why I bought the physical.
Yeah.
To get this book, along with, the other, the statue or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But, this was part of the reason I bought it.
Yeah.
Was this journal that I have yet to make it past 50 pages. But anyway.
Yeah. Random. No, I guess I must have taken this with me to London to read over at some point because I just found a 5-pound note in here.
There you go.
So this been across the world with you.
On
You
what
still haven't had
page?
it yet.
It was in the very back.
Oh.
Maybe, you know what? That was probably the reward you were giving yourself. Like, I need to finish this and then I can go spend that at the market real quick.
Yeah.
I no clue why that's in there. Anyways, but yes, so that's been one of the things Pins and Laird has been harping on us on, to actually do a discussion on this book at some point. So
yeah, it was cool.
Anyways.
Didn't expect 2 hours out of it.
Yeah,
but
it's neat. It's like you said, it's a lot. It's all over the place, but when you start to kind of piece the pages and kind of figure out what's going on, it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of content do you guys like researching the most for your episodes? Is it game stuff? Is it book stuff? Is it kind of the wacky one-off type bonus episodes that you guys do?
I like the bonus episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I love to deep dive in just some random aspects of it. Like even dumb things we did, like ranking the Spartan 2s. Like that's just based on my own dumb criteria that everyone hated, and I absolutely love that people hated it because it was so dumb. But it was just fun. It was just fun because for us, it was also just research to touch up on all the Spartan 2s again and kind of get to know them as we've seen them already, get to know them as we're going to see them later. So that just helped us a lot in that aspect, but also just made it a fun exchange to talk with fans about how terrible I am and that I should change my opinion completely. But those I really enjoy. And I know for Jesse especially, it kind of boils down to the games a lot, and even some of the comics and some of the graphic novels. The books, we're still kind of getting our criteria down with that. Like there is definitely research, but not as much that obviously goes into a full-fledged game.
Yeah, I mean, like when something has like 15 sources, like I'd say the thing I hated researching was the interactive strategy game.
Yeah,
because there was like 5 sources for that, and I was like, we had to like actually dig to find anything. Versus like when we have a episode that has like a couple hundred sources, like that's way more fun to me. Because again, I like doing this. I don't like idle hands, so I think that helps a lot. Whenever, I mean, as I said, it's a perfect excuse to just go home and just get laser focused on that. Some nights you're up till 10, 11, or 1 or 2 in the morning, but it's just like,
I thought you were gonna say 10 p.m. It's a late night for research.
Hey, for me that is.
Yeah,
but no, I mean there definitely been nights, like a few nights where I've fallen asleep on the couch doing it, and Welkson comes up in the morning. She's like, "Did I make you mad or something?" I'm like, "Nah, I got too tired and didn't want to move." So Jake and I just sleep on the couch.
I just succumbed to it.
But yeah, definitely games for sure. To answer the question straightforward, yeah, I know Alex loves the bonus episodes because Alex definitely has an out of the box way to make this criteria or look at something like that, or even come up with a lot of the topics for it. And then for me, it's the games, just because I'm a robot.
You just end it with I'm a robot
because I am a robot. I'm an alien robot.
Yeah, and like you said, there's so much more. I don't want to say drama with it, but kind of seeing what goes on in the studios and being able to interview some former employees and current employees about kind of what's going on and what really happened within the Bungie studios, what's happening with 343. It's been pretty good and kind of eye-opening to see, you know, what it took to make these things. Because I know for the most part, everyone takes games for granted. If release date gets pushed back, everyone complains and wants the game now, and I totally understand that. But to really see what goes behind the crunch, what goes behind the scenes, whether you have, you know, production coming in to tell you to do something, art's trying to do something. So that's been a really cool aspect to figure out.
Cool. Did you guys read over I know this was probably a little bit before you guys did the podcast, but you guys recall the Vice Waypoint article that got released?
So I'm not done with that one yet. I read it in the segments that we're like doing the research for. So it's, you know, the second, I was doing Halo 2 when I got done with the Halo 2 point. I stopped reading it. But I mean, that's like a couple hour read. Like that thing is a beast and I love it. Stuff like that. If every studio, because I've read so many, like occasionally somebody will go and interview all the employees and do stuff like that. I've read stuff for like BioShock and Zelda and stuff like that as well. Like, I think we need more content like that out there, because that's the content I love. Like,
yeah,
give me all of that.
Well, and that's kind of the content that you guys provide a little bit too, because you dig into some of the background. You actually get a lot of the details that not a lot of people are familiar with, and that's one of the things that really makes your show attractive, at least to me, is, oh, there's all these little tweaks or things that I didn't know about, and you guys are doing the work and researching, and just the fact that you guys have put in the time and have a good outline and presentation for that information is really helpful to me, and I'm sure a lot of other Halo fans would find it very enlightening if they took the chance, if they haven't listened to your podcast already.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, by the way. I appreciate that. I want to say that, again, it's like, I love drama. So the idea of seeing this actual external drama within a studio, because you always have some studios that are just like, yep, we make games. This is our beautiful game. Like, it was a breeze. I want to hear about, like, I remember the first time I had heard Bungie talk about them cutting the final third of Halo 2, the third act.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, oh my God, what else have they cut? Like, that's what I want to hear. Because I definitely, like, Halo 2 is a phenomenal product. You can't deny that. So when you see, like, games come out of such, like, a struggle, I think that makes me appreciate them a lot more. So that's the stuff I love seeing. And then definitely, like, I guess, like, you know, you talked about, like, the clean cut format and everything. I really got that inspiration from the last podcast on the left. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's basically, imagine what we do, but it's serial killers, aliens, conspiracy theories, stuff like that, and they're actually funny.
Whoa. They're actually they managed to make that topic funny. That's
You shouldn't laugh. It's one of those podcasts you're like, I shouldn't be laughing at the jokes they're making about this, but I'm laughing. It's definitely good.
It's hilarious. Yeah,
they've got talent somehow. Then if they're managing to pull that off, they've got something.
Well, that's a podcast where they're making off their Patreon alone, like what, like 50-something thousand. They're doing they tour constantly doing live shows. Yeah, they have their own. I was going to tell you this. Kind of Funny's on their network now.
Yeah,
I did not realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like they have their own podcast network. All three of those guys have 1 million podcasts themselves, so they're like cream of the crop when it comes to stuff like that. But definitely, again, drama and the last podcast on the left and Halo. That's Finish the Fight, a Halo podcast, I'd say.
Gotcha. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean,
okay.
But I do want to say, like, I know I've been chatting a lot. I do want to give a huge shout out to Alex, because
that's right. That's right.
From the beginning, I told him, I said, you know, you don't have to do an ounce of work on this. Show up and just record. Because even when I did our Combat Evolved episode, I never expected you to read off the notes. But our first episode recording, you just kind of cut in and started reading the notes. I was like, oh, okay, so this is cool. And Alex does a good amount with the community and a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I think definitely if you want to, like, you know, break it down, I do 99% of the main notes. He does tackle a lot of the bonus episodes, but he takes care of just about everything else. And it's really nice to be working with someone who definitely puts a good amount of time into this, like I do. So I do want to give a huge shout out to Alex, because he's a man. And I appreciate you, bud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aww.
I do appreciate me as well. Thank you.
I love me.
I love me. Me is great.
Yeah, cool. GT, did you have any questions before I start rambling more off?
Oh, no.
No, keep going. If I think of one, I'll pop in.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So before you guys started doing this show, I know, Jesse, you'd mentioned that you'd done podcasts before.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that are listening, unfortunately, this won't make too much sense, but I'll try to describe it. You guys have a wall of Halo posters behind you. I'll call them the classic Halo because they're everything from Halo CE to Halo Reach.
Yeah.
Was this set up there beforehand, or was this something that happened as a result of you guys finish the fight?
Yeah, it started from that. So we're actually I run a photo studio. So we're actually in one of our rooms we've converted into a sound room. So on the wall you can't see is a monitor TV that we use to monitor our audio. And if we have any visuals that we need, we have it up there, as well as soundproofing foam around us. And then all of our lights are up here as well. So this just became like, we were originally going to do video with this, but it boiled down to the way Jesse cuts our audio. It sounds great. And I'm like, I don't want to try to match video with that.
Yeah.
So it became kind of a video stage we set up with it and never put it up. So we've got it set up for that kind of.
So we got an exclusive here on Podtacular.
It's true.
Yes.
Got it going for you.
Yeah. I mean, these were a lot of just posters from my childhood. Not child. I was a teenager by then, but I was just like, hey, dude, let's just decorate the studio. Like, let's just run with it.
That's cool.
With the classics.
Yeah. Well, once I finish down here, I have a stack of foam to put up. So
Godspeed on your thumbs. Just pushing them all in after a while. It just tears them up, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Totally random note, but did you use the 3M strips or did you use other adhesive stuff?
We actually use T-pins.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because it made it easier for a lot of the stuff that we had. Because we originally didn't know really how we wanted to do the setup, and I honestly don't care what the walls look like after it. So it just made it easier for us to kind of T-pin it in and be able to position it around because it'll hold it in just as we need. I know, and since I can, like I said, do whatever I want with the walls. I'm not necessarily renting with these walls. We can run it however we want. So it just made it easier for us to position around, throw some above here and there, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Was it that helps you guys determine what topics you want to tackle? Because obviously you're doing a lot of the mainline games and the novels and some of the official Halo stuff, but there's been some one-offs type of things that you guys have done, whether it's through community polls that you have on your Patreon or some other stuff that you guys have been interested in. And I think Laird in our chat mentioned that you guys did a Fistful of Arrows podcast not too long ago. So how are, other than the official stuff, how do you come up with some of the kind of bonus topic episodes that you guys cover?
I think like for the bonus episodes, we had talked, I don't know, maybe August, September about, I think we had 3 books coming up in a row and we were losing our minds trying to like cram all those in and try and take notes on it. So I think we originally did the Could You Survive a Flood Outbreak?
That one was earlier on. So.
One of them, whatever one we had, was something to kind of break up so we didn't like cram in 3 books in a row because one of us had a busy week and it's like trying to either do an audiobook with it or trying to slam the book in a week was just super tough. So it kind of started that way. And then we started to think of just interesting topics that we've never really either heard of or that, like you said, either fan-made things that the community, we would find interesting when we looked at it and we're like, maybe someone else does. So we started with that and it's just kind of rolled. And then we have a couple things that tie into some of the content that either follows a game, whether that be like Halsey's Journal or some of it's just stuff that we might want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you came up with the could modern day survive a flood outbreak? And we went back and started researching zombies and pop culture and everything like that. So it definitely, I think as well as to just take the occasional break from like straightforward Halo, like with episodes like that. That way you don't get burnout on it because no matter what you do, you got to take a break occasionally from it and step back and say, okay, let's incorporate something else in here. So yeah, definitely just, as you said, just so we aren't losing our minds as well if we have a bunch of books to cram in or comics or something like that. Yeah,
something that just required a lot of research on more of the actual going through the material end and less of just kind of finding sources and interviews and things of that nature. And it allowed us to freeform more. Whereas most of our other ones are very structured in how we set them up. And we write 90% of a script and 10% ad lib on it. These allowed for a little bit more freeform and a little bit more opinionation than the others.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that. Has doing the research that you guys have done help or change your perspective, or I guess kind of give you more of appreciation on the development of games, how the books come together, how the music happens? Like, has that affected you just from appreciating it, or has that affected you in your professional life?
I'd say yeah, for sure. For Halo Wars, I mean, I liked Halo Wars, but it was always just kind of like, okay, I like this game, but it's Halo Wars because I'm not an RTS guy. But definitely like doing the research for that has definitely made me be like, okay, those guys were just got a lot of crap thrown at them, and they still had to go through it. And so like stuff like that, I'm instantly like, that's really cool. And then just working on some of the 343 material, since we're now in that era for Halo, it's giving me a different understanding of 343. I don't want to say it's going to give me a better understanding, but definitely a different understanding, learning about how they came together and whatnot. I think that's really cool. So, and I think I also just now approach some things, you know, with a little more research as well. So this is kind of like applied to my life now and like my actual job where I work in marketing. So like I've been able to kind of apply this elsewhere. So I think that's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex?
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, I was never really big into the lore. I was more of just play the games, really enjoyed them, very confused by 4, very, very confused by 5. And then now going back and getting more into everything and seeing, like I said, we're not crazy lore heavy, but we do go into it and read about it ourselves to kind of figure out what is going on. And that's helped immensely in figuring out how the universe is shaped and how Bungie made it. And then 343 is now taking over in our timeline. And it's, like Jesse said, a huge appreciation for the development of it, but also just the creativity on, okay, we have this game that was kind of a one-off that did really well. Now the second one did really well. Now the third one did really well. Let's just blow the universe up and do as much as we can to give some backstory on things, how they happen, and going forward, how can we keep evolving these characters? And whether you like how they're doing it or not, I think it's amazing for a gaming franchise to do that, because you have others that do have either one-off books or a series of books. Gears had it. Plenty of other Microsoft properties have had it, but no one, I think, has expanded and created such a universe as it is now. So I just take a huge appreciation to that.
Yeah, for sure. What's some of the most obscure things that you have found in your research that you had no clue and it kind of surprised you guys?
That's a tricky one. I know that I
got
like
throw a couple curveballs in there.
Talking to Eric Arroyo a few times. He's told us some really like almost like off the record wacky stories from Bungie, and just some of the just how goofy they were even with the development around like Halo 2 and 3. So hearing some stuff like that, I'd say whenever we talked to Dan Miller and I learned about the water missions that they were like 7 or months into for Halo Reach that never made it through, it was almost like swampy. And then as well as the money tree version that would of gameplay in multiplayer in Halo Reach that would later turn into infection, because it was originally like you had to stay in this area and you gained money and then you could buy ordnance with that money, which kind of turned into like Warzone essentially. So like hearing that like seeds like of that were planted all the way back in Reach is interesting to me. Granted, there are only X amount, there are a small amount of Bungie employees now, so maybe it's a coincidence or maybe they looked back and that's how they kind of got the Warzone idea. But stuff like that, if something pops up in my head, I'll for sure just spit it out. I know the garbage trucking game type was just so super interesting to me. And I think definitely along with when we just did that Bungie episode, like learning about how they came about and everything. And I think just that just the whole idea of like them coming out, because for me that's just was so cool with Bungie being that scrappy little office it was that got bought by a corporate office that then had to be super nice. Like that's so crazy to me. And I think now I think about it, my favorite thing to come from that episode is that Ed Fries didn't have keys to the Bungie office and he brought them in and they're like, you don't get keys, please leave. And then even when they moved from the Microsoft office and got their own office, no Microsoft employee could enter Bungie, like the Bungie office, unless they had an appointment. They were not allowed through the door, no matter who they were. So I think that was crazy to me. That's a little off Halo, more just about Bungie itself, but I love that. I love that rebellion that they did against Microsoft until the bitter end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of history there. I'll leave it at that.
I love it. I mean, I get both sides. I can see why Bungie was so frustrated. You know, I mean, like Microsoft and having that due date for Halo 2 almost made the studio want to just quit. A majority of those guys wanted to quit. So I think stuff like that, you know, and then years later, you know, crunch time is such a huge hot topic right now to where studios are finally like, okay, take your time. That's why Doom was delayed and all these other games, Cyberpunk getting delayed. Animal Crossing. And that's fine. Like, I think now definitely when I was younger, I was like, oh, that game's delayed. That's so lame. And now I'm just like, that's fine.
Yeah. We've all grown and matured a lot.
Exactly.
The early days of video games.
There's a whole new generation of impatient teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll get over it. They've got
Fortnite. They've got some time to play.
Oh, oh, there's the F word. Yeah, it's very interesting, and this is something I've always found fascinating, is just how much struggle there was for Halo 1's development, Halo's 2 development, yet how much are those games staples within the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, at one point it's like really fascinating. It's like, oh, they really pulled through, but on the other hand, it's like, wow, they went through hell to get those games the way they were.
It's totally amazing that the games actually made it to production.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, like, sorry.
I was saying, and if you look back too, I mean, CE had a pretty good reception, but Halo 2, I mean, look at the forums. People hated it. It was a different game. They're dual wielding. They're doing all this other stuff. What's that campaign? You know, so, because you kind of look back, depending on how you were, like I was pretty young playing. I'm like, I don't know, just give me anything Halo. I'll play it. But, you know, with those rose-tinted glasses, like, it was great. Everyone loved it. But a lot of people had dissidents of it. They liked that original CE. They didn't want the change. So, yeah, I mean, even see them keep going is crazy.
I remember that. You know, I was 30s when I picked up Halo. So, you know, I was looking at it from an adult's point of view. And I heard the backlash. And I couldn't believe it because I had an absolute blast playing Halo 2.
Yeah.
Yes, it played different than CE. It played better than CE.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then they came up with Halo 3 and they took 5 steps back. But, you know, I've always saw it, and it's amazing. I see this every time a new game comes out, new Halo game. Every single time. Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4, Reach, all of them. They've all had this backlash at launch because of something the developer changed. Whether it be 343 or Bungie. You know, at first they were lashing out because the way the BR worked in Halo 3. It was different. It was projectile instead of hit scan. You know, it's so, you know, I see that. And now everybody looks back and it's like everybody, we want Reach. And for the first 2 weeks, everybody want Reach, and then they quit playing it.
It was more like this nostalgia aspect of like, that should have been on MCC the whole time. We need to Reach back again. We need to play it. Every streamer jumped on it. And now we're just kind of...
Yeah. Now we were on CE.
For a day. I mean, everyone's like, oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now that CE's there, I saw a population pop up for a
couple hours,
week and a half.
Yeah.
and then now it's right back down. So, you know, the community says one thing and does something totally different.
Yeah, and I think people look back too, and they remember it fondly. And then if you are used to modern day shooters and you jump to CE on the PC, you're like, what is this? This is like a fun old game. I'll play through it once and then I'll put it back. I just think that's a lot of the nostalgia aspect of it. If you do any game like that, and it's a whole different feel to it, that you're like, oh, I can't sprint. I can't clamber. I can't do this thing. And you play maybe, maybe half the campaign, you're like, that was pretty good. I'm done with that. I'll put that away for now.
Yeah, it's just interesting how the community responds to this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as Alex said, that nostalgia factor comes in. They grasp it, they get it, and then they throw it to the wayside again. For me, at the end of the day, it's like, depending on, a lot of people had that story with Halo 2 Anniversary, but I mean, at the end of the day, like they still got our $60, so Microsoft won a little bit, but no, really, yep. I think Halo 2 Anniversary for me, I think was the first time for like a remade game where I was like, I'm actually gonna play this a lot more. This is really fun. I think you've talked about that too. That's just a great looking game. Beautiful. Yeah, I think it was super fun, and the gameplay. Halo 2's aged a little well than CE as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how it's going to look on PC, and if we're actually going to be able to keep a player base for that.
I think Halo 2 and Halo 3 will maybe bring a little bit more of a player base. Halo 3 probably more so because we haven't had Halo 3 on the PC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be... I think that one for sure will retain some players for a good chunk of time.
I think it'll retain some, but I think people always gravitate to the Xbox for it, just because if you have the choice of shooter on the PC, are you going to stick with Halo for it, or are you going to go to the numerous others that are kind of really made for that mouse and keyboard aspect of it, or that are fast-paced, or that are Battle Royale? So yeah, I think you'll always have a base with it, but I think you'll see kind of your homegrown players pretty much stick for the most part to Xbox.
Yeah, I could see that.
The whole reason I purchased it is just so I could take it with me when I travel.
That makes sense.
That's the only real reason I purchased it on PC. Do I play it on PC when I'm at home? Yeah. Mm-hmm. If I don't have any friends on Xbox, I'll fire it up on PC and I'll jump in lobby. I'll solo queue in the lobbies and I'll have a lot of fun. And from time to time, I'll show the mouse and keyboard how to really work a controller. And then I'll have that one good game, and that'll be it for the week. Anyway, but yeah, the games were never intended to be on PC. And 343 said that. With all the development issues they've had with them, even the port from the original Xbox to Xbox One was a nightmare. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't doubt it for sure. I mean, it's even crazier because CE in and of itself was kind of broken at the extent that it went from a Mac PC game to a console game in about a year. So just the amount of time, and they were still changing as well, the story and how it looked and how it played. So then taking that game that's held together by duct tape and then going, okay, let's just take all the duct tape off, put a different kind of duct tape on, and now it plays on the PC.
Yeah, when Gearbox did the original port to PC, of course, that's what the Master Chief Collection was built on. Mm-hmm. A lot of things got broke. It got broke pretty bad. You use the term duct tape. I use the term spit wads. It was not a stable port. Even with all the work that has been done to CE over the years, it was never a stable port for a computer, for a PC.
Yeah, that's fair.
A lot of old code in there too. A lot of old code.
It's amazing, just the little bit of information that they've released, and now that it is on PC, what the different people are finding in the code, stuff that we never knew about. Mm-hmm. It's like in Reach, they found that there was supposed to be an Scarab battle on Tip of the Spear. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever knew that.
Yeah, like guys like General Kid, like going through and finding all this crazy stuff. Again, stuff that I love to hear about. So it's always cool to see stuff like that. It's like, oh, here's some audio files that were never actually taken off of the disc itself. So just found out about Scarab Battle, or the amount of in-game dialogue that was on Reach that they actually took out that was supposed to kind of give a little more exposition to the plot itself.
Why
don't they take that stuff off?
Yeah, exactly. That's been one of my main questions of like, there's all this interesting stuff that's just left buried in the game. And back in like the Xbox days and the Xbox 360 days, disk space was a premium because there was that 1 gig that you lost on the DVD because it was needed for console reasons. But
apparently it wasn't that needed.
I guess not.
Because they left it there.
It's interesting. I wish I was smart so I could find all that stuff. I wish I knew what I was doing.
Me too. We have a couple of questions from one person on Twitter, and then I have a couple of follow-up questions as we wrap up our time with you guys.
Sure.
This one comes from Hammond Spam on Twitter, and there are 3 questions. I guess
there are boys.
Four questions. First one is, what is your favorite multiplayer maps?
Zanzibar.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say Sword Base from Reach.
Well,
give me the comment.
Interesting.
Reach sucks, but that's cool. Do you? I like how you picked that out of everything.
No rose-colored glasses there.
I gotta like what I like.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Halo 2 was my game. I think in total I put 600 hours into Halo 2, so I pretty much played that religiously. Went to school, played that. Went to school, played that. Skipped school and played it all day. So that's kind of just how that kind of played out. And that was like where I got into Xbox Live and did all that. So,
gotcha. Shotgun or sniper?
I'm terrible shotgun.
Yeah, I'm going with shotgun.
Jesse can't hit anything with either gun, so it doesn't matter what he picks.
And then favorite campaign weapon. That's an interesting favorite campaign weapon.
Campaign specifically?
Can't.
Halo CE plasma pistol.
Halo CE plasma pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that thing's a beast.
Yeah, it's the only gun you need for the entire game.
I'd say
yes, it is.
3 ODST or Reach gravity hammer because I'm just a Neanderthal. So
you pick the wacky weapon where it's like, I just want the weapon it's not futuristic. It's just a hammer that can smash stuff.
I want the Mario like the Halo equivalent to a Mario hammer.
That sounds about right. You can at least hit something you swing.
Exactly.
The target designator with the Mac Blast.
I did use that a lot to get all my commendations up, so I'm ashamed to touch it. That's just a shame.
I don't know too many people that didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And then the last question he or she asks is favorite multiplayer weapon.
Halo 2 pistol.
Man,
really?
Really?
It's the only time they actually balance it to be an actual sidearm.
True.
I like the spam of it. We have some stuff we play where it's just pistols, and it's skill based, but it's fun. It's more fun than getting super weapons with it, or because my least favorite weapon, bar none across all games, is the assault rifle. But using the pistol is just, I guess, the quicker fire rate, dual wielding with it. You feel like a cool guy. It's kind of what I go with for that.
Does this make me feel like a cool guy?
Yeah, it's pretty much what I choose weapons by. Does this make me feel cool? I'll use it.
I'd probably say the Reach DMR.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Would not have expected either one of those answers, but yeah, okay, cool. Well, my question is a little bit more broad. What is your favorite game overall, considering campaign, multiplayer, all that stuff? And,
Halo game?
And why? Yeah.
You've only played like 2 other games, so just pick a Halo game.
Well, that's why I had to specify.
I mean, I've said it before. Halo 2. I thought the story was really awesome. I thought bringing kind of the Arbiter in and getting this shift in style was, I guess, unique for me at the time. That like, oh, I'm now playing as like the enemy and they're coming together. So I just thought that was really neat. I thought the missions themselves were super fun. And obviously the multiplayer spent a bunch of time in there. And that's the game I know I've gone back the most and I've replayed through everything and really enjoyed it. After that, I'd probably say ODST.
I would have to agree with you 100% there. Halo 2 for me was, like you said, having the story with the Arbiter in there and Master Chief. Having that whole dynamic in there has really made Halo 2 my favorite Halo game so far.
Yeah, and it was a really big jump from CE where I'm constantly shooting the elites, and now it's like, okay, interesting. It's like a banished type one. Like they were seeing this video at first start. Like, it's interesting. Oh, I'm him now? Okay, so I guess I'm playing the bad and good side. And then you realize, oh no, they're getting together on like the same side. That's really cool.
For me, I definitely have to say.
No, we know what your favorite is.
I'd say it's a tie between 3 or Reach, with ODST coming in close second. I mean, I love those games. And by no means I realize that both of those games have their faults, but 3 is when I first came into being a Halo fan, and when I got invested in the campaign, and then Reach is where I actually like started caring about how I did during multiplayer. And then ODST for me was just I remember I pushed that game off, so that's why it's like a close second, because I was like, this doesn't seem appealing to me, until one day in high school I was sick, and then my buddy left it, so I was like, I'll play this after all, and I just played it in a day, and I was like, holy crap, why did I sit on that for so long? So those 3 for sure, but definitely a tie between 3 and Reach.
Okay, very nice. And then I'm guessing Bama Goat in our Mixer chat might be behind the Ham and Spam Twitter account, and he has 2 more questions in here that are comparisons: Frag or Sticky, and Valhalla or Blood Gulch.
Frag. I do the arc better.
I gotta go Sticky because I can't aim, so I gotta hope it lands.
Hope it lands somewhere. I guess I prefer like UNSC human weapons over everything. It feels, I don't want to say it feels better. It just feels, I guess, more natural to it. I don't know. I just feel better throwing that around, and hoping and praying for some of that shrapnel.
Yeah.
And then what was the second one?
Valhalla or Blood Gulch?
Blood Gulch. I rage too much in Valhalla, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it's safe to go with Blood Gulch. I mean, a lot of it with it's better. It's just better.
I mean, I'll definitely have to agree with you on Blood Gulch, and I don't have any real reasons on that. Just because like multiplayer maps for me, especially when you have ones that are iterations or spiritual successors to them. They do subtle changes that change them up. At the end of the day, it's really hard to dissect them.
Yeah, and everyone who can leave a literal bloodline in the name of their maps, I usually go with them. I usually go with anyone who can give me some of that bloodiness in there.
There you go. I guess to follow up, Blood Gulch or Coagulation?
I think I'm gonna still stick with Blood Gulch.
Yeah, I'd probably go Coagulation.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be different. That's who I am.
Nice.
I like that they spiritually successed those maps and changed a little bit, but kind of kept it the same as the iterations went through. I thought it was smart. They knew what their audience wanted. And they're like, do it, but let's be funny about it.
Let's be funny about it.
Yeah. I like how all the remakes have had the same name theme to them.
Yeah.
That's been really cool.
Well, isn't it also with that map? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was somebody from 343 recently like tweeted like that map design is on every Halo ring, so that design itself is canonical. Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone had just recently posted that on our Discord. I can't remember his name. It's the guy who does a bunch of Halopedia stuff.
CIA?
Yeah, he had posted that in our Discord recently, because every time he does an update to Halopedia, I'm assuming he does it with other Discords too, he's like, new lore stuff, and I'm pretty sure that was one of them. Could be wrong. If I'm wrong, CIA, I am sorry.
I don't know. I just watched Red vs. Blue when I was a kid. That's what it was, so it's canon in my mind. So
Red vs. Blue is canon.
Yep, that's just what I knew.
The box cannon is canon.
Exactly.
The box canyon is canon. There you go.
Canyon.
He'll post in our Discord every once in a while when there's new stuff. He won't post every time necessarily, but every once in a while we'll get little snippets from him. It's like, hey, there's this thing. It's like, oh, that's interesting.
It's really fun. I love it.
Again, like he's someone who's just very dedicated to like finding out everything there is to know, and like the second he finds out, he gets excited and he wants to tell people, and that's cool. And we love seeing that.
Yeah, we're actually going to have him, Dab, and someone else from their staff on probably within the next month or so.
Awesome.
That's tight.
Show. So yeah, we're looking forward to that interview. It's going to be a really good time.
Very cool.
Definitely a very lore rich mind. So
yes, indeed. So where can people find your podcasts, your socials, websites, all that good stuff?
So if you look up, Finish the Fight, a Halo podcast on Facebook, you can find us. We're Finish the Fight podcast on Instagram, Twitter. Apparently there's 20 Finish the Fight podcasts, so we're FTF HaloCast. And then, we're available on all podcast platforms and YouTube as well. So basically anything or whatever platform you use to listen to us, we're there for you. And if not, let us know and we'll get on that platform.
Cool. And you want to share a little bit about your Patreon as well?
Yeah. So, I think that's Alex Speed.
Like with you guys, it's just a way for our fans, whoever's listening, to be able to support us. It gets you access to post shows, bonus episodes, typically a month before everybody else. So tonight, like I said, is a drop for the patrons, so they'll get something. Higher tiers, we give out prints, t-shirts, stuff like that. So it's just a way, you guys know Patreon. It's just a way to help support us. It gives you guys bonus content that we're not necessarily giving out to everyone else, some insights in our Discord, things like that.
Episode notes as well.
Episode notes, covers, all that stuff, all the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And then do you guys have personal Twitter accounts or other handles that people can follow you directly at?
Jesse ODST. So
I'm going to throw this back real quick. I like that Jesse in his childhood just named everything Jesse something. I'm very, very fond of that. So you know exactly what accounts his are.
Yeah, every one of my accounts, like I have a Lego Instagram, which is Jesse's Lego Creations. Like,
yeah, it's the same.
Just search Jesse something and you'll probably find me. But yeah, Twitter is Jesse ODST. Not super active on there, but maybe I'll get lots of followers from this episode and then I'll feel special. And then I will start posting more.
Yeah, just follow Jesse. I don't use social media. I hate it.
Same thing on Instagram as well, Jesse ODST. So
cool. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into our topic of the week. And like we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, we had a poll that we put out on social media. So we put out on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. And this week we were asking people for their favorite Covenant vehicle. And again, this isn't Halo Wars. We're not digging into the numerous vehicles that are in there. So this is just the vehicles from the first-person shooter games, most of them that are somewhat navigatable, drivable, or you interact with them to some degree.
Okay.
So we've got 12 different vehicles that we asked people for. We have the Ghost, the Wraith, the Banshee, the Spirit Dropship, the Spectre, the Seraph, thank you. We have the Phantom, the Scarab, the Chopper, I keep on forgetting the name of this one too. The other brute one.
We always struggle with that one too.
Oh, the big boy one? I don't know.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. The big boy driving one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The one that attacks you when you're by a pelican.
I had to tell you.
Yeah, right? Like that's because when I was putting this together, that was like the last one that I had forgotten about. It's like, oh yeah, there's this one. I'll think of it here in a second. Then there's the Revenant, and then kind of an oddball one here, the Lich from Halo 4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's Prowler.
Prowler. That's it.
Prowler.
I was going to say that, but I just felt
I'm just going to keep with Big Boy one. Staying
Big
with that.
Boy one.
Yeah.
The brute big boy.
Mm-hmm.
That one. The Prowler. Yeah, so we have those 12, and I believe that is a complete list. I did check over a Halopedia Covenant vehicle list, and I believe I got every single one that was not necessarily from Halo Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So before we dive into community responses, what are your guys' picks out of the Covenant vehicles for your favorite?
I would say two of them. One, I have to go with the classic, the Ghost. It's just the easiest to get around. Like, not even talking weaponry wise. I just need something to get through the campaign. I want something to drive. I want something to mash into hallways. I want something to get me to point A to point B. I'm pretty much selling you guys a Ghost right now. Let me tell you about this baby. This thing, it gets you into all your nooks and crannies. It can shoot stuff if you want, or you just run it over. They've added boost to it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And
pretty much.
Yeah. And my second would probably be the Chopper, mostly from, I don't remember which book it was, but basically was just built to save, so that Huragak, is it Lighter Than Some?
Are we talking about Harvest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was supposed to be a gift, and then the brutes took it and made it and put like brute shots on it.
Yeah, see, I love that origin story of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's pretty cool. He's like, here's a cool, fun thing for the humans you're gonna give. Okay, put some guns on it. We'll go kill them. Yeah, so I thought like neat origin story and just a fun, weird thing to have that's a little too overpowered if it's rammed into anything.
I love like when Halo 3 first came out, having all the little videos and clips of people just ramming things with the chopper and seeing vehicles explode and people splatter and go flying off. Yeah, it was great.
It was also cool that they gave that one like that's the ultimate one. Like it goes if you ram it against a warthog. Like I remember, I didn't even realize that until we did our Halo 3 episode. I was like, oh yeah, like you really can't ram that thing. Like that thing is like the ultimate beast.
Warthog?
No, the chopper.
Oh, I thought you'd be like, wrong.
No, you idiot.
Ram with.
Yeah, so I'd say for me, so this one will be expected, but something from Reach. I loved the Revenant because I think that thing was just chaotic. I loved it so much. But another thing I liked, and it's probably my favorite one overall, is the Phantom, just because for me the design is so unique. Like I love the design of all the Covenant stuff, and I think it's so believable but yet realistic that this is Alien. And I think the Phantom really sold that for me when I saw it in Halo 2 and 3. So Phantom for sure. I just think it's a cool looking vehicle.
Yeah. I could definitely see those. GT, what about you?
Oh, it's got to be the chopper.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Very nice. I think for me, the Revenant's up there. I think for my top one, closely followed by the Phantom. I think those are kind of like my top two.
Well, look at that.
We got sides now. I see how it is. We have chosen our sides.
That is weird how that kind of came up that way.
Yeah.
Well, after I took out my first anti-air wraith with a chopper at distance, it was just it became my favorite.
Yeah, and see, I picked the two vehicles that you pretty much use on Lasso, just to shell back and shoot stuff.
Yeah,
fair
pretty much.
Point. Yeah, the Revenant for me, I liked it because it was kind of that mix between the Ghost and the Wraith in a way. So you're combining. It's almost like, as far as ground combat, one of the most utilitarian vehicles.
Mm-hmm. I kind of thought about it. It was like if the Covenant looked at a Tasmanian devil and they're like, let's make that into a vehicle. Just pure chaos.
Yes, it is pure chaos. That's for sure. Well, let's go over some of the responses that we got. We do have some from our Discord, so I'll go ahead and hit those up first. So thanks everyone that responded in our Discord channel. Hopefully there's not too many overlaps with social media on here. First one from UNSC Marine. He says the chopper.
Correct.
So top one up to chalk one up to the chopper.
Good.
Also, Tepek from Halo Creation. Shout out to our French Halo folks over there. He says the chopper or the Revenant.
Okay. Meeting us in the middle.
Yep. But he says if you had to pick, it'd be the Revenant because it's red and red is fast.
You know what? I can't argue with that. That's fantastic.
That one is kind of hard to argue with,
yeah. Grunty says the Scarab. The
which
best
one?
Well, so with these we kind of just grouped them generically, so we didn't do like the Halo 2 Scarab, the Halo 3 Scarab, the Halo 3 Scarab, yada. So
let's hope he's talking about Halo 3.
I'm always talking about Breadbasket.
But he said best boss battle in Halo and very cool to operate in mods.
Okay.
Misa Red, she says the Ghost, small but powerful, can come in different forms in Halo 5, and
I can relate.
The Ghost is pretty. Yep. The Ghost is very useful. I will say that for being in all the games, it's definitely one of the most useful vehicles.
Yeah, it's definitely the one that you can exploit the most, which is really fun with that.
Yeah. the fact that you can like drift sideways and like wedge yourself into places where you're not supposed to get into by kind of manipulating the anti-grav and all that. Yeah, the Ghost is very, very useful. Probably the most useful vehicle throughout all the Halo games, if you think about it.
Yeah. When it comes to doing things you ain't supposed to be doing, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Fuchs says the Phantom. There's another one of the Phantom. He's always loved the design, and it's one of the 343 era vehicles where I think the redesign adds a lot to it. Spartan 0398, he also says the Ghost. And Ace of Spades card, he also says the Ghost. Pins Halo, he says the Revenant. So we've got a pretty good tie between the Revenant and the Ghost right now. That's all the stuff from Discord. Over on Facebook, we did have a response. He listed off a lot of the Halo Wars ones, but the non-Halo Wars ones that he did mention is the Wraith and the Banshee.
Oh.
This is from Christian Taylor. Yeah.
Christian changing it up.
Yeah, the anti-air Wraith specifically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And then where we get most of our responses, Twitter. So over on the Twitter side of things, first one is from Duquesne, and chalk another one up to the chopper.
Saying, it's the way to go.
From Lane Thomas, or King Louis, he also says the chopper. American Patriot or Skipper 95_V on Twitter, he says the Spectre. That's the first one for the Spectre that we've seen.
They need some love.
They do.
Yeah. It was an interesting addition to Halo 2. Because it was basically kind of more similar to the Warthog.
Yeah.
Than the Ghost was.
Yeah, it's kind of like, how do we balance this? We've already got 2 tanks. We've got these lighter vehicles. Let's kind of put that together, and there you go.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Skyrim Halo, he says the Scarab. Covenant Cannon, or Nakai Cannon, at Nakai Cannon on Twitter, he says the Spectre as well. That's interesting. I would not expected that one to get as many votes.
Someone paid him off.
Yeah. It's production cycles, I understand. They need some more out there.
Oh, geez. We've got our first Wraith vote from Hank1S Dank on Twitter.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
If all you guys have great handles, this is going to be beautiful. I love this.
It's interesting to see the difference between their display name and then the Twitter handle. So, yeah. At eMegaDunka. Yeah, they go Twitter handles again. This, oh wow, the Lich. He says the Lich has a cool design and role in the battlefield. I really want to see more of it in the future.
Interesting.
They're interesting. Yeah. Halo Fan for Life says the Revenant with the, because it's like a ghost cross a wraith.
Yep. The love child of those.
And he says it's like Professor Hulk. And he has the Professor Hulk gif from Endgame.
There you go.
We got another one up there for the Revenant from iPhoton I.
Thank you, iPhoton.
Bailey JXIII. She says the Phantom as well.
Thank you.
Chuck another one up to the Scarab from Coach Pax _YT. Then another one for the Phantom. We're just going to kind of speed through some of these now. Another one from the Phantom, from Thesk Duram. Got another one for the Revenant. Another one for the Phantom. Phantom might be a contender here.
Thank you all.
Shame. It's crying shame.
It's gotten a lot more votes than I expected. So, let's see. Next one here, we've got three more for the Scarab.
Scarab's getting some love.
Yep.
To be fair, Scarab and the Revenant wasn't quote unquote the newest releases. So, I mean, you know, gotta get back to playing that chopper. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the chopper was only in one game, too.
I know, the Revenant was in the best game. And this was in the worst game. So, you see where my predicament comes up.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're talking about. But yeah, maybe. Chalk one up for the Seraph. I think that's the first Seraph one that we've seen. This one's from Kaipo Nuram.
Odd. I never really felt anything for the Seraph. I was like, it's there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Chalk another one up to the Scarab.
Mm-hmm.
Another 2 to the Scarab. 2 more to the Ghost. Another one to the Spectre. And then the last one we have here is from Vengeful Fadam, and he'll wrap it up with saying the Revenant.
There we go, my boy.
All right.
Read him and weep.
I see who's true Halo players.
So that's interesting. I heard a lot of Revenants, Scarabs, Phantoms. I think those might be the top 3 from our poll results. Closely followed by the Chopper and the Ghost.
Did we hear any Warthogs? I don't think I heard any Warthogs.
No, because that's not a Covenant vehicle.
Oh, Covenant.
Yeah,
that's right.
so
I wasn't even thinking.
That's pretty weird that all that was Covenant related.
That was last week.
I was not thinking. It's like, man, I haven't heard any Warthogs. Shouldn't that be there?
Warhog took the cake last week. No, sorry.
yeah.
Tank took the cake last week.
Really?
It's got to be Tank.
Tank beats everything.
Yeah.
Oh, it does, but it's not fun.
Sure it is.
Bama, you make a good point.
I don't know how you're playing the Tank then.
Listen, I just like to drive in areas I'm not supposed to. Those are the vehicles I pick.
Plus,
Bama,
man, when you got to
mixer
get somewhere
chip-
on time, you just can't. Not in that Tank.
No, Rally Warthog all the way.
Yeah. Bama in the mixer chat actually brings up a very good point. The Banshee and the Spirit dropship, neither one of those were picked.
Spirit's ugly.
No, they weren't.
No, listen, the Spirit's trying.
Spirit's trying.
I don't think the Prowler was picked either.
No.
Nope.
The Prowler was kind of...
No,
Neither was the Wraith. No,
Wraith had
we didn't get
one.
one.
We got one. We got one Wraith, one Lich.
The Prowler was pretty useless for the most part.
Big Boy and Fork Boy, they really didn't do much. So it really depends on how you really want them to play.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most the Spirit did was keys, smashing some hunters. There you go.
Yeah. And then that was it?
Yeah.
That was the one thing that they could do with the tuning fork.
Yeah, if there's a pole in front of you and you need to hit both sides, you're good to go.
You're good.
You're golden.
Yeah.
Cinematic masterpiece right there. Other than that, just drive it off.
I always like the description: a semi truck pulling 2 trailers backwards.
Yep.
Yeah, that really is it.
That's all it is.
Yeah, no love for the Banshee though. Whatever, get the Banshee out of here.
Yeah, that's interesting. With how many people rely on Banshee bombs for multiplayer and
It's true.
Warzone and all that stuff, I'm surprised that no one mentioned Banshee.
I think just for the most part, when it comes to the campaign Banshee, it's probably some more of the drier areas of just having to all right, let's fly up there and get this over with.
Yeah, let's fly to the end of this cliff.
Let's escort. I mean, it's kind of where I usually see it. It's not like let's get in there with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you could make the argument of which is better on campaign and which is better on multiplayer.
Ghost.
And I think the lists would be very different.
Ghost.
Ghost no matter what.
Yeah.
But people abuse the heck out of the Banshee on multiplayer. Like, you just look at Halo 4 and Halo 5 with people Banshee bombing and doing the Banshee flips. I mean,
Halo Reach was the worst.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could never get it down because I suck at Halo.
Well, Halo Reach was the easiest you could actually get it down because bullets actually did damage in Reach.
You couldn't do it. That's what I'm saying. I suck at Halo. Couldn't get past Halo Reach's tutorial Banshee.
That's beautiful.
About the fun. It's about the experience.
Yeah, well, winning's good too.
Hey, if you enjoy it and that's what you consider winning.
No, incorrect. Not the way he plays.
Just playing the game. Just playing the game. No, it's kind of a gimmick on game nights now that
if you score below him, you're banned. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
When we do Invasion, I do good. I lead our team strong. Other than that, it's questionable.
Yeah. So that's the poll for this week. There are not really any Promethean vehicles other than the Phaeton, so I don't think there's really any point in doing that kind of a poll.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Yeah.
It could be do you even like this or this vehicle? Yes or no.
Well, you could do Phaeton or Phaeton Helios. You know he'll win.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Still. Only one there. So I'm not sure what we'll do for the poll for next week yet. We might do campaigns, just like what's your favorite campaign? CE 2, 3, 4, Reach 5, that kind of stuff. So that might be the next poll if I can't think of anything else to do with like weapons or vehicles. So you can find that on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord when we post it out. And we normally post it on Tuesdays, but since we'll have a different podcast schedule next week, it might come out on Sunday or Monday. So yeah, look forward to that for our next poll. And at this point, we will say goodbye to our lovely guests. Thank you, Alex and Jesse, again for being on, talking a little bit about what your podcast is about and how people can really get some education out of it, because I definitely learned a lot from listening to you guys. And for those who haven't listened yet, I definitely recommend checking them out if you want to learn more about Halo in any and all facets, whether it's the development cycle or how certain things are there for a reason, that kind of stuff. It's just a really, the way that these guys put the research together and present it is really easy to consume, and you guys do a wonderful job.
Definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having us on. I mean, I know Podtacular has been around for over 10 years, so it's really cool to kind of see, like having us come on to this. It's been a good time, and it was awesome that we got to come on here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been fun. It's been like didn't really know what to expect with it. I'm just having a blast. I love it.
Yeah.
Good. Well, hopefully we can have you guys back on the show. I know after some other things happening after that falls into place, we might try to do a roundtable of podcast type of things. So
cool.
Yeah,
we'll see how that turns out.
Awesome.
Yeah. Again, we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining in. All right. Moving on to our normal show schedule. We're going to jump back to what would normally be the beginning. But I do want to just thank again for having Jesse and Alex on. Again, I cannot recommend their podcast more than we have already. They're really good at what they do with all the research and putting it all together. So definitely check their podcast out if you have the chance. Let's go do our normal update stuff. So starting with the Fraggin' Friday recap. How did things go, GT?
Things went really well. We had a lot of fun. We bounced around MCC. We actually finished the night up with some customs because matchmaking decided it wanted to be a pain. For some reason, it wasn't syncing maps. It was working most of the night, and then all of a sudden it just stopped syncing maps. So we went into customs.
And then Xbox Live had a lot of issues over the past few days.
Yeah. Well, with everything that's been going on, the interwebs have been kind of overloaded.
Kind of? How about very? Yeah, it's nuts.
I was trying not to panic anybody. Jeez, come on.
It's the internet. Go figure.
It's not like I wanted them to go out and empty all the grocery stores.
I still don't get the toilet paper stuff, but
I don't get the egg stuff.
Egg?
Anyway,
kind of makes sense, or at least to me.
Are they growing their own vaccines?
No, but a lot of people eat eggs and use eggs for a lot of baked stuff and other things that you cook with. So,
and people go through more eggs when they're at home, huh? Yeah,
eggs isn't as surprising to me.
There is no. How about the Chef Boyardee?
I mean, I would assume a lot of the canned good stuff is probably getting taken. I would assume
the eggs were gone, but there was milk left.
Okay, you kind of make a point, I guess.
Anyway, that's beyond the point. We had a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing it again this week.
Very good.
Or next week, by the time you hear this. Anyway.
Right.
Or last week. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Very nice. Thanks, sir.
Tenses. Jeez.
Yeah, grammar. Ugh. I was actually able to play a little bit of Halo Wars with Bobby last week. Halo Wars 2 specifically. We did get one achievement, and that was, I believe, it was a Forge achievement. Yeah, here it is. Killing 50 units with Forge's Warthog. So we managed to get one achievement, and then we hopped into campaign to get some of the other bonus objectives, because I still need the 100% all the bonus and optional achievements. So working on that one as well. We'll be back on Sunday to do more of that. We have a couple of our community posts that we did this week. Machinima Monday was the matchmaking series. For those people that were around during the Halo 3 days, that should be a very familiar Machinima series. And if you don't know what it is, then if you have heard the song No Scope, then it originated from that series. And if you still don't know what I'm talking about, then you have some catching up to do. I will be transparent and say there is a little language in there, so it's not suitable for all ages. So if you have little ones around, you might want to watch it separately with them not around. But it was back in the days when Halo Machinima was definitely thriving and there was a lot of it. And Matchmaking series was definitely one of those that stood out.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun going back and watching all those episodes. And just seeing the random, wacky, crazy stuff that people did for Machinima. The sky was the limit back in the day. It was the wild, wild west of anything and everything with Halo clips.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
There was no worry about being demonetized because you didn't do it for money anyway.
Yep. And it didn't have to be high production. It was just, if you had a good punchline or some good comedy to it, people would watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fuchs, Machinima for a Halo is not as strong as it once was. It's still there. People still make Machinima, but it's definitely not as prevalent as it was back in the Halo 2, 3, and Reach days, for sure.
Well, I think, for one, it takes a lot of dedication to do it, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I think the newness is worn off of it. There's still people out there that still do it, and they do a great job, and what they come up with is great. But the drive for a lot of people to do it has worn off.
Yeah, sadly it has.
Which is sad, because that's was always one of the fun parts about Halo, is the use of a video game to make a video series.
Yep. And I definitely know, because I have restarted working on one that's been 7 years in production that will be coming out this year. And by coming out this year, I mean it will actually be coming out this year. Anyways.
Right now he's got plenty of time. He's just looking to fill.
Exactly. Thank you, pandemic. Because we can't say what it actually is without being demonetized and yeah. Our streamer showcase was Team Respawn TV. They're pretty much one of the remaining Halo Wars dedicated channels out there when it comes to Twitch and YouTube. And they stream, I think, about once a week, or that's their target. It's usually kind of just on a whim. They post in their Discord and social media when they go online and do their streaming stuff. But since they are kind of one of the last bastions of Halo Wars 2 type stuff, that was worth noting, because they do stream from time to time, and they are actually Twitch affiliated. So if you want to go over and subscribe to them, you could. And yeah, for company commendations, I don't think we've actually covered this one in a couple of weeks. So just a little bit of an update on that. We're getting pretty close with the latest two that we have. The first one is kill an opponent that shot you first. We are under the 1,000 mark.
Cool.
Yeah, by 16. So it's
Hey, we're under
984 to go on that one. And then for the assassinations, we are within 400. We have another 392 assassinations that we need for that commendation. Yeah.
Getting close.
Yeah, getting definitely close. For Sorry Mate, which is killing Marines, we have 8,108 out of 38,900. RIP. And then Shoulder Bashes, we have 1,577 out of 9,700. RIP. So those are the progress on our commendations. We have 20 out of 31 complete, which means we need another 11 more to go. Another close one that we have is Lawnmower, which hopefully some people played some Castle Wars over this past week and got, and that is getting splatters. We also have just under 400 of those to go. Actually, this could take over the assassinations because it's at 4503 and the assassinations is at 4508. So it's only within 5.
Could be a close one to see which one we get first.
Yeah, it definitely could be. That'll be interesting. Over on the matchmaking side of things, because of the pandemic, they have turned on double XP globally for Halo 5 and MCC. So while you're at home, might as well game and play some matchmaking in Halo and get some of that XP grind that you need for Halo 5 and MCC.
Double XP. Double XP.
Double XP. Yes. Yes, double XP.
Yes.
Yes. And we've got an update for the Halo 5 calendar.
Imagine that. Guess what popped up during the first half of our podcast?
Right? An hour before we started.
Someone. Anyway, for the end of March, we have this weekend Triple Team rotating in for Castle Wars. Next weekend, the March 22nd, we have Core Play rotating in for Triple Team, and Warzone Turbo goes live. For April 1st, and this is not a joke, Hardcore Super Fiesta rotates in to the ranked playlist for April.
I'm going to be happy with that one. I'm going to try that one.
Okay, whatever. I'll be in regular Fiesta. On April 2nd, Covenant Slayer rotates in for Core Play. April 9th, Mythic Shoddy Snipes rotates in for Covenant Slayer. And Warzone Assault goes live for the weekend. On April 16th, we get ODST Slayer back. Rotates in for Mythic Shotties. And on April 23rd, Rock and Rail rotates in for ODST Slayer. On April 30th, CE Anniversary rotates in for Rock and Rail. And then Warzone Turbo goes live.
Turbo!
So, that's cool. Turbo time.
Yes.
We need to get a gift. We need to get a gift for that.
Yeah, we should. Have it on the little dial where I...
We need to get Arnold.
Yes, we do.
Anyway, for the Master Chief Collection, Fiesta is coming to MCC as this weekend's features playlist. This is the first time it will rotate into matchmaking for Combat Evolved ever. So, something new for you.
Even on Xbox.
Yeah, even on Xbox. So, Fiesta rotates in. Griffball rotates out. Sad.
He'll be back next month.
Yeah. For Halo CE Fiesta, all the new Fiesta game types will be available on Battle Creek, Damnation, Prisoner, Chill Out, Derelict, Scroll to the right, you stupid piece of junk, Wizard, and the longest. Fiesta will be available as the featured category. As we said before, global double XP for medals, double XP cap for medals categories.
This means you can get double the XP that you normally could in a day.
Right. They doubled the XP cap.
Yep.
It's available both in social and ranked multiplayer.
Double XP.
Double XP.
And like GT said, we did get our Waypoint article, the community update. Not a lot of new stuff. We actually covered a lot of the stuff already from previous posts that were covered. So we have the Combat Evolved Anniversary obviously coming to the Master Chief Collection. We got the new book announcement for Shadows of Reach. We have the playlist updates that we went through. The Dreamhack Anaheim VODs are up for viewing. So the new stuff from the update is basically most of the studios working from home because of said pandemic. Halo 2 and Halo 2 Anniversary flighting is imminent. The goal is to actually have it out by the end of this month, which is next week time frame-ish, depending if all the Ring 1 and Ring 2 flights go well.
10, 12 days away.
It could be impacted with people working from home, so it might not be till beginning of April, depending on how those flights go. But probably within the next 2-3 weeks, we'll see insider flights for Halo 2 coming out. So if you have not already, make sure you have your profile updated on haloinsider.com to be eligible to be invited to it. For Halo CE, they invited over 100,000 people that were registered, so they're getting a lot of people in there. There's a very good chance you'll get in. It's not guaranteed, but it's a very good chance. So might as well give it a try. The Microsoft Store tournament that was scheduled for March 29th has been canceled because of the pandemic. The Warzone firefight changes that they had talked about in a couple of updates ago are on hold until they can test it in their lab because, again, people are working from home because of the pandemic. Half of this is because of the pandemic. And then there are some little radar blips. They have some new posts on Instagram for their sound showcase. Was it Sound Design Saturday? And then there is a community montage contest that's being hosted by Hable, and Halo is Back is their second montage contest. And this can be anything from super competitive or creative type style montages. And the deadline is November 1st. And the contest is being hosted by the Halo is Back website, which is haloisback.com. And then at the very end, we have our latest piece of artwork, and this one is Halo CE inspired.
The Flood.
Yes.
I wonder what inspired this piece of art.
I wonder.
The virus speaks. Oh.
The plague. The pandemic.
The plague is upon us.
Yes. There's no social streams for the foreseeable future until the pandemic is over with, which at this point is pretty much 2 months everywhere that you see it. 343 did post on Facebook and Twitter that they are hiring, which is kind of an interesting time to post that you're hiring when people are kind of told not to travel or move around. So bad job checking on the scheduled tweets there, 343.
Don't know there.
They are hiring. And if you want to apply and wait to be hired when people are back in the office, I guess. Is that how that works?
I don't know.
I know for me at my work,
the only way I get a job there is if they fire Beamish, so I have the wrong skill set.
For the place where I work, they're not hiring anybody who's not local.
Yeah.
Or people that they have hired, they're not bringing on board until people are free to move around again.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good thing.
It is. It is. It just is impacting a lot of industries right now.
Mm-hmm.
The world's going crazy. What we got for today in Halo?
18th of March, 2492. Dr. Catherine Elizabeth Halsey is born on
Endymion. That's how I'm going to say it.
Yeah, that's close. But anyway, in an attempt to help in the insurrection, she develops a champions the Spartan 2 and the Mjolnir project. She will also use her intelligence as the basis for the smart AI Cortana. And if I could get my tongue off my eye teeth, I could see what I was saying.
Dr. Halsey is born 18th of March. Very nice. So the Xbox did some super cool announcements with their Xbox Series X and showed off some of the guts of the console. So if you check out Xbox.com and Xbox Wire, you will see lots of new stuff regarding the Xbox Series X, the way it's designed, all of the nice inner guts have the big, nice explodey view and video format and all that good stuff. So we actually get to see what's on the inside of the console, and it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of different ways that you haven't seen consoles built before. Like the motherboard's been split up into 2 different pieces. They have a whole different way of doing heat sinks and it being integrated with the chassis, having kind of a centralized fan with 3 or 4 different kind of intakes. So it's a very interesting piece of hardware.
Yeah. Yeah. And Microsoft being Microsoft, I've been trying to download the zip file for 2-3 days now.
Yeah. So their downloader for the media files just sucks. It's broken.
Yeah.
Because I went to go download some stuff. I forget what it was for, but I tried to do it, like do the collections and download the collection. Even if I did a collection of like 3 pictures, it would crash because it would create the zip and destroy it so quickly. While you were downloading, it would destroy the zip file, and then you couldn't download the zip file because it was gone. So there's something broken on their end.
Oh, definitely. Well, for one, I couldn't even download the pre-packaged zip that they have.
That's not good.
And, well, I couldn't download, just downloading the images. I couldn't download more than one at a time, and about every 3rd image, it would fail.
Yeah.
Come on, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Fix your...
Yeah. There are little interesting nuances. So someone pointed out that there is a Master Chief helmet, I believe, on the fan.
Yeah.
So there is that. The new controller, which will be backwards compatible with the other Xbox One generation, has a dedicated share button in the middle of it. And then they have a textured D-pad, triggers, and bumpers. So kind of like how you have the textured rubber on the thumbsticks. It's kind of that design.
And they also have a hybrid D-pad, which is kind of a cross between, on the Elite controller, your regular crossed and the faceted. So, you don't have a traditional cross. You do have more like an 8-way D-pad. So
now the one kind of interesting, quirky thing, or at least I think that's probably the most quirky thing about the console, is having those dedicated 1 terabyte expansion ports. It's kind of going back to the days.
Thank you, Xbox, for letting us put a hard drive in the machine. Thank you. I'm glad you listened to us this time.
Wait,
oh man.
But it's a dedicated piece of hardware. It's not a hard drive.
Well, technically, yes, it is. It's an SSD.
Well, okay, but it's a customized SSD.
It's still a replaceable storage device.
Yeah, but if I wanted to put a 5 terabyte SSD in there, I can't do that.
No, you can't. You couldn't do that with the Xbox 360 either. You had to buy the Xbox hard drive.
Right.
Now you could hack it and put in a larger hard drive. You can do that with the Xbox One. But would you rather have a slow SSD at 6 terabytes or an NVMe drive at 1 terabyte, which doesn't mean they're going to stay that size either?
True.
That's just what they're launching with.
I would rather have a slower 6 terabyte SSD because of how big freaking games are, and it's going to be cheaper to store it there.
Keep in mind that the new games are going to rely on that faster storage even more than current games do.
Oh, I know.
So it is possible that the newer games won't even run off of a regular SSD with the way they're doing file swapping with them.
I don't know. If you can have a gaming PC running normal SSDs, be able to run high quality games.
This is not a normal PC, though.
I know that.
That's the one thing everybody forgets. This is a console. It is not a PC. You can't compare the two. Because every game that runs on a console is designed to run on that hardware. It's not designed to run on everything under the frickin' sun.
But most games,
it's designed to work on that
for PC and some console these days, though.
The games that run on the console have been designed to work with that hardware specifically. Now, they could have been ported from a PC game. Like they developed as a PC game and then ported to the Xbox. But they remove all that extra compatibility because they have a set of specifications that won't change.
I think it'd just be very stupid of a developer to make it to where you have to have that near real-time transfer because the Xbox allows you to do that versus allowing.
I'm not saying every developer will, but some of your probably your AAA games will.
Well, and they said that
they'll be the one that will push the hardware the hardest.
So they did say that you can store games on external hard drives. It's just going to take longer to load.
Yes, but they also said you can store older games. That comment was in there.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Listen, I'm just happy that there's replaceable storage on it.
It's not replaceable, though.
It is.
The inside hard drive is replaceable.
No, the external one.
That's what I'm talking about, the internal one. You're going to be stuck with 1 terabyte, which can hold, what, 4 games?
No, the external drive is also a terabyte.
Okay, I can store 8 games. You see my point here? Like, okay, I only mostly play Halo.
Who says that they're not going to launch larger drives? They're starting with a 1 terabyte drive.
I don't know, man. If they're really pushing for that high fidelity content with this console, 1 terabyte's not going to be enough.
No, it's not, and I agree with you on that.
And you go to 2 terabytes.
But
you're good.
When they first launched the Xbox 360, it came with a 20 gig drive, right?
Yeah.
When it first launched, by the end of its cycle, they had 240 gig drives.
Right, because they were starting to go into the digital space of their games. But on that 250 gig drive, I can store over 20 plus games.
Mm-hmm.
On a 1 terabyte drive for the Xbox One X, with all the high fidelity stuff I'm going to be lucky if I can store 5-6 games on that thing.
Like I said, give it some time. The product hadn't even launched yet.
I know, but I would just think they would think ahead with this kind of stuff.
That's what that slot's there for.
Yeah, it's a proprietary slot.
So, Xbox controller is a proprietary controller too.
But you can still use your $50 controller that you have from your normal Xbox One and use it on the X. You don't need the new controller.
No, you don't. But you can't use it on a PlayStation. Can't use it on a Wii.
No.
Well, actually, you can technically because you can do the Bluetooth. But I get what you're saying, Dust, but give it some time. The 360 didn't launch with a full, they didn't launch with a 240 gig drive available.
Yeah, but at the time, all you were using the hard drive for was your saves. So you could play thousands of games and still have space on the hard drive because all you're doing was saving saves and DLC.
And as the market changed, the hard drives increased in size. We honestly don't know how these games are going to be packaged. It may move to an online requirement to be online. That's the way the market has been moving.
Well, if you're going to stream those assets online, it's going to be the same speed as loading it off of a hard drive.
It depends on what assets they're loading.
I don't know. I think there's some shortcomings here that they haven't adequately accounted for. But that's just me.
I understand that you're concerned about space, and I am too. Especially with, drives, at this point, I have games on my hard drive that are 100 plus gigs.
I mean, imagine Master Chief Collection at 4K graphics for everything, and plus newer fidelity stuff. That game explodes to 250 gigs.
Yeah.
That's a quarter of the hard drive.
I know.
Everything else of the system
but
is really cool.
We faced the same thing when the Xbox One launched.
Yeah, 500 gigs wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't.
People made a fuss about it.
Mm-hmm.
If 500 gigs wasn't going to be enough, 1 terabyte is certainly not going to be enough for the X.
But see, the with the Xbox One, it still had USB 3 on it, which the USB 3 spec is actually faster than SATA. So you can run your games off an external drive. Well, USB 3 is not fast enough for, it doesn't compare to an NVMe drive as far as load time.
I get that. But if people want to use a hard drive, why prevent them from using that? If they want to deal with the slower load times, let them deal with the slower load times.
Like I said, we don't know what will happen.
All right, rant over. Let's move on because we've got some other stuff.
Like I said, we honestly don't even know how big these games are going to be. They're going to be huge. I understand that.
With day one updates.
Probably.
Every single game on the Xbox is, well, not every single, but most games have had a day one update.
Day one updates.
At least from all the AAA devs.
But overall, I've been very impressed with the specs.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be a good quality console as far as its performance. It does lack on the storage right out of the box. I would love to at least see 2 terabytes internal. But again, they have a budget to keep in mind, because if they make this thing $2,000, ain't nobody going to buy it. Matter of fact, if it's over $500, they're going to have a tough time selling it. And looking at the specs, this looks to be a $500 console.
Yeah, I'd rather just have the 2 terabyte and have it be $600. But I get what you're saying.
They wouldn't sell them. They're going to sell them,
and then people are going to realize, oh, I can't play more than 4 games on here.
They did that with the Xbox One.
Yeah, they did.
They'll, like I said, I'm sure that Seagate has probably already got bigger drives prototype.
Probably.
Because they have in no way released all the information about the console yet.
No, they definitely released a lot with this, but you're right.
They have released a lot of information.
Time will tell, I guess.
This fall will be interesting when they actually do launch the console.
If it is this fall.
Like I said. I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to make it to Seattle this year, which is really going to piss me off.
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. It's going to be interesting. Just a reminder, the Xbox partnership with Operation Supply Drop, the $250,000 matching gift challenge ends on March 31st. You can make donations over at tiltify.com/OSD/Xbox-match. I haven't actually checked to see if they've smashed that goal yet or not. I'm guessing with all the publicity they possibly have. Oh, no, they haven't. Wow. Okay, that's actually kind of sad. It hasn't even broken 10%. Hasn't even broken 25 grand yet.
Oh, that's not good.
No, that's not. And given the whole pandemic stuff, not surprising either.
People are tending to hang on to their money because they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so. People are definitely scrapped. Yeah, sad, but unfortunately understandable.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm the same way. I've got a little bit of cash stacked away left over from my tax refund that was going to go to do something, but now it's not.
Yep. You're there.
And it's kind of really hard because I kind of really need to buy some stuff and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard enough just having to deal with buying the computer parts.
Yeah, but you got that up, and if you guys didn't catch it, you actually streamed you putting the pieces together this past week.
Yep. Took me about 3 hours, I think it was, to get the motherboard and stuff swapped into my case. And I cheated and I just backed up my old computer and restored the backup on the new computer. I cheated.
That's not cheating.
I didn't want to load all the software.
That's being smart. That's not cheating.
Well, it's not the best way to do things, but it did work.
It works. It works. Take it, man.
Unfortunately, the really sad part is I spent 3 hours and I streamed the build of this PC. And if you want to check it out, it's still on my Mixer channel for a little while. You can find that at Godzilla Todd on Mixer. But that night, I went to bed at my normal time, and I just tossed and turned for a while. I finally did sleep for a little bit, but I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep.
Oh.
So I got up and I came in and I finished the computer. So I spent another 2-3 hours working on it from like 2 o'clock in the morning until 5.
Oh my gosh. Hopefully.
Then I finally got tired and I went back to bed and slept until like 8:30.
Okay.
But yeah, it's running really good. I'm really happy with it.
Good.
Did a little test stream yesterday, I think it was. Unfortunately, I had one of my audio settings was off. I'll have to fix that in my profile, but it was working pretty good.
Good.
I will probably doing another test stream tomorrow before Fraggin' Friday after I get home, so probably early in the afternoon, just to make sure I got everything right for game night. And then we'll be set.
Very nice. Well, glad it went well and glad it's working.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not crashing anymore.
Yeah, no kidding.
I haven't been brave enough to go in and do any tuning on the
overclocking,
overclocks or anything. I do need to go in and tune the RAM because it's Ryzen and it generally doesn't like the out of the box settings completely. So I do need to get in there and do that.
Okay. Very nice.
I haven't been brave enough yet.
The overclocking is definitely not something to mess around with if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, I not really want to overclock, just optimize.
Right.
I don't want to push the hardware. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of the package that I have, or the most efficiency out of what I have.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Over on the community highlights side of things, we've got several new podcast episodes that have been released. First one from HCS Pro Talk, episode 118, titled The World is Changing, which it definitely is, because everyone's working from home now because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Podcast Evolved has 2 new episodes out. First one is their mission debrief, episode 89. This one is Halo Wars Shield World. Then they have their regular show, episode 204, Slightly Late News. Over on the Finish the Podcast folks, which we just talked to, episode 27 has been released, and this one covers the book Cryptum, getting into that Forerunner trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Next one we have is Sacred Icon Halo. They have episode 25 out, titled Then It Is an Even Fight. Check that out over on anchor.fm. The Halo Outreach Podcast has their 32nd episode out. And this one's titled Halo 2 Anniversary Flight Update and Halo PC Update. On the community side of things, the signups for the Halo 5 series of the AGLA Summer 2020 circuit on console is now open. Signups are going to be running from March 18th to March 31st, and then the draft will occur from April 1st to April 3rd, with the series beginning on Monday, April 6th. If you want to go sign up, then you can head on over to playgriffball.com, check out the post, and sign up for getting part of the Halo 5 series. On the Forge Hub side of things, we have the results of the 2v2 Bongaloo contest. We've got the top 4. Number 4 is Mardun by Martian Mall Cop. This one kind of has a dark dungeony feel to it. Third place is Node to Joy by Examples and Wyvern Zoo, which I think is kind of cheating because she works at 3. Well, I guess this was probably before she got hired by 343, but still. This one has kind of that Halo 2, like Halo Forerunner architecture feel, like Call of Stone architecture to it. Second place is Iceworm. That's an interesting name for a map. By Box Nose. This one is a snowy kind of Stone Cold type map, multiple levels and architectures and structures. And then the first place is With Love by Xandrith. This one has kind of a, I don't know what we call this kind of architecture. I'm thinking like Venice for some reason, where you have a lot of the multi-tier levels and small building type things. I don't know what that architecture is called, but
kind of a Middle Ages-ish feel.
Yeah.
You know, cobblestone streets. Looks like it even has a lighthouse in it. But yeah, you kind of get the vibe.
Yeah. Shout out to Daddy Trax, who's making an appearance over in the Mixer chat. We haven't seen him in here in a while. What's up, bud?
Hey, what's up?
He's been streaming a lot lately. So yeah, head on over to forgehub.com. You can see the results over there. You can find the links to all the maps and then the top 4 picks for all of the judges. Most of the judges were Sethi Roth, Max Extra, Who's Blaze, and Soul Flame. So yeah, check that out. They also have their community favorites for February 2020. And they have their top 3 picks and some other honorable mentions. Honorable mentions being El Bronco by Buddy Jumps, Catharsis by Purely Fat. Wonderful gamer tag. Stellar by Canadian Echo. Panic on a Halo by Nico JT. Eclipse by Sega USA. L'Appel du Vide by Behemoth. And Frag by Arctic or Arc 8 CTZ. I don't know. ARC1T3 CTZ. However you would say that one. Not a clue. Not a freaking clue. Third place was Night Flight by Purely Fat. This one has a Middle Eastern / Asian influence to it, with some interesting little like light trails and other little accent pieces. Second place is With Love by Xandrith, who also won first place for the 2v2 contest. And then first place was Node to Joy by Examples and Wyvern Zoo, and this was also one of the top picks for the 2v2 contest. Suspicious.
Sounds rigged to me.
I mean, it makes sense with the contest lining up and then community favorites. Of course, contest winners are probably going to be in the favorites.
Probably.
Makes sense, but still, it's kind of one of those type things. So you can check those out over at forgehub.com. For the YouTube content side of things, we've got a lot of stuff posted by a lot of people. Hidden Xperia has a video, How the Arbiter Influenced the Events of Halo CE and Sparked the Downfall of the Covenant. Over on Halo Canon, we have a guide to Halo's book library, where and how to get into Halo's books. I actually did watch this one, and he goes into a little bit of some things to consider if you're wanting to dive into the lore, into the books, if you're new to it. Obviously, there's 2 big prevalent areas, either go in release order or go chronologically. But he also gives some ideas of if you want to learn more about this particular topic, or you want to kind of see where certain books influence certain games, then he kind of highlights specific books that can actually help be more targeted for people that are looking for not necessarily getting into all the books at once, but looking for certain areas to get involved with. It's a very good video.
Yeah, the toughest thing is to put the books in chronological order.
Right, because there's some overlap and...
Oh, there's a lot of overlap.
There certainly is.
It would probably be easier to put chapters in chronological order.
Yeah. I don't know if Pins is still in here, but he had a Google Sheet tracking all that stuff for a while, and I don't know if he had got that working with anybody, trying to like have people help him update that or whatnot. But I know he's been working on that, and there's been a few other projects for that as well. I'm still doing that solo. You're nuts, man. You're nuts. And thanks, Daddy Tracks, for the 100,000 sparks on Mixer. That is very kind of you.
Nice.
Knowing that it doesn't do anything for us because we're not partnered. But thank you.
Appreciate it.
He didn't want to be level 1. Okay, fair enough. Installation 01 has a few new videos out. He has his 5th installment of Project John 117. I haven't listened to a single one of those yet. I need to watch those. 2nd installment of Halsey's Journal. And then the 18th installment of The Armory this week featuring the Fuel Rod Cannon. Ubernick has a video out. 2 videos out, actually. First one being, how will E3 being canceled affect Halo Infinite? Haven't watched the video, but basically, I don't think E3 itself will affect Infinite being canceled. If anything, it's going to be this pandemic. And then there is Can We Survive the Flood featuring Forge Labs. Ice Spiteful has another video out as well. It is a custom game night on Halo Reach for a custom called Get Out of My Apartment. Ultimate Halo has a couple new videos. First one here is The Truth Behind Halo Infinite's Multiplayer Beta. I haven't watched this one yet, but probably is going to cover a little bit about the whole Mythic Arena being a testing ground for Infinite and all that, the other stuff that
I really hope not.
Other people from YouTube have been posting. I would expect to see some beta test for Infinite to actually come out, be released, and be played.
Well, hopefully it comes out here pretty soon. They're running out of time.
Yeah. Well, they might have more time because of this freaking pandemic.
Good. It would not surprise me if this delays the release.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. I would say, heck, use the excuse at this point. Let the Xbox and PS5 be delayed. Like, give people a little breathing room. Or at this point, a lot of breathing room because people are self-isolating themselves.
Yeah, it's really hard for me because this is probably going to be my only opportunity to experience this. You know, to experience a Halo game launch at a convention or any of that. And, you know, to experience a console launch along with a game launch, it's, you know, for me, is probably going to be a once-in-a-lifetime shot, and I think this is it. So I'm really hoping that things level out before things later in the year start getting canceled.
Yeah. PAX, anybody? My Halo family reunion is looking a little grim right now.
Yeah.
I know you were planning on going. I was planning on bringing my wife to meet a bunch of people. So I obviously people staying safe and healthy is definitely huge, but
well, yeah, that's the important thing, and I understand that if they cancel it, that will be the reason. It just is kind of just heartbreaking for me because I probably won't have this opportunity again.
Yeah, I hear you there. I hope that it comes out to be something that you can still make, even if it's delayed. Hopefully, it's something that people can still enjoy and experience.
Like I said, it all depends on, you know, what happens.
Yep.
You know, if they cancel it and then they just launch anyway, then yeah, it's kind of screwed. But
yep.
Anyway, looks like he also did another video where he discusses the Xbox Series X's specs.
Yep. I honestly,
as he put it, insane.
Right. I honestly thought about putting some of these videos into buckets because there's definitely a trend where you see some YouTubers all talking about, okay, here's the Xbox release. Okay, here's the Halo CE anniversary release on MCC. It's like, okay, you have 5 different videos on the same topic.
Well, you know, everybody gets the same idea at the same time because the information's the same. Everybody receives the same information.
Yeah.
It happens in other communities too. You know, here's the latest weapon. This is how you get it. Oh, by the way, it's bugged right now, so
yeah, no kidding.
Do it now before they fix it. Yeah, things like that. I get it. It's content, and there is a severe lack of that when it comes to Halo right now. So
definitely. Last one that he has is 7 cut features and content from Halo games. It's an alright one. I watched it. Some of the stuff is like, yeah, I knew that was cut. And some of the other ones like, okay.
Well, keep in mind there are a lot of new people to Halo.
There are.
So
there are.
Maybe information that they haven't come across yet.
Very true. General Heed has 4 new videos on his YouTube channel. First one up that's new is on Halo 1, can you beat the Warthog run in a Scorpion? The answer is no, because it cannot make the jump at the end.
Better yet, how do you get a Scorpion up there?
Well, it's modded. You basically replace the Warthogs with tanks. In Halo 2, what is Miranda Keyes actually holding onto in the index room? The flood tentacle or like wire licking thing. I haven't actually watched it yet, but that's the thumbnail. Halo 4, who shot the Elite in the E3 2012 demo, and can you save him? Okay. Then last one we have here is Halo 2. What happens if the Arbiter is accidentally killed during a cutscene? So those are the 4 videos.
He dies.
Well, it might be where the cutscene just breaks down and scripting breaks down. I don't know. Haven't watched it yet, but that's up there. Kevin Cool X has 3 new videos up there. First one is talking about E3 being canceled. Second one is talking
the virus,
the pandemic. Second one is talking about Halo 2 anniversary flighting info and possible dates. And then the third one is Xbox Series X specs. Again, should just put some of these in the bucket. Patman Gaming also talks about Halo 2 anniversary flighting stuff. And then Marty posts a Bungie Halo 2001 home videos thing. I haven't watched it yet, but some more Halo content from...
He's been posting a lot of that stuff lately.
He's posting quite a bit. Getting on that hype train. And then there's 5 new videos from Team Respawn, who is our featured streamer for last week. We'll have a new one here in a couple of days. 5 new videos on his front. First one starting with Cryo Troopers versus Hellbringers. Who is stronger? Second one is analyzing the Halo Wars E3 2007 Alpha. Next one is Strong Start for Cutter, Halo Wars 2 multiplayer. So that's just him playing some Halo Wars 2 multiplayer. Forcing to Rage Quit. Some more Halo Wars 2 multiplayer stuff there. And then Mega Turrets Rock the Map. Halo Wars Super Turtle.
I have to admit, the Super Turtles can be interesting to watch. It's kind of like watching somebody beat their head against the wall. And they just don't stop.
Might have to take a look at that one. And we have another one here that's just kind of a miscellaneous. This one comes from Masters, and he did an up-res of the Halo 3 E3 announcement with Chief walking up through the dirt and onto, or right by the portal. And it's in 8K. I did watch it. I have a 4K monitor. You can definitely see the low poly on the models in game, but the reflection off of Chief's visor looks sick.
Yeah,
and the actual like effects where you have Cortana kind of coming in and out with like the digital blocks and all that stuff, that's actually really, really crisp.
Yeah, I don't have anything near that level, so
if you have a monitor that supports it, check it out. Obviously, it's not a true 8K render, but the up-res is actually pretty good. So it took them 24 hours to render.
Really? I was thinking 2 or 3 days.
Probably has a beefy enough computer for it. So yeah, those are all the YouTube videos we have. No updates on fan projects, but we will be doing an update on that probably within the next month or so, because it's been a while since we've talked about them. Some community musings. We have our Halopedia stuff, which I'll let GT get over to that here in a second. And as he's doing that, Real Life Spartan reached 2,000 followers on Twitch.
Cool.
some of you guys may recognize him as the legendary 117 online.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, happy birthday, dude. All right, what do we have for the Halopedia Trivia Tuesday and Lore Thursday?
Well, let's see. Halopedia put up Trivia Tuesday. Did you know in the code of Halo 2, there is a cut flood unit called the Juggernaut? Yeah, I knew that. It showed up later on in Halo 2, Halo Wars 2. When modded in, this unit can withstand a lot of damage. It wasn't until Halo Fireteam Raven that the Juggernaut made its first proper appearance as an enemy players can face. Yeah, that's right, because Awakening the Nightmare came out after that.
Yeah. But we had seen it actually in like from the promo stuff. So I think we saw it getting announced for Halo Wars 2 before it actually came out for Fireteam Raven.
Mm-hmm.
But Fireteam Raven released first.
Fireteam Raven, right. Fireteam Raven actually made it out before the Awakening the Nightmare launched. For the Lore Thursday, created by Meyer EV Icarus class, Icarus class Muralur is one of several armor prototypes tailored for hunter-killer operations in built-up areas such as space habitats and oncologies.
What is an arcology? I don't even think I've seen that.
Biodome.
Okay. I guess that makes sense, yeah. And then on the Know Your Halo side of things from Podcast Evolved, today's question is, this is what Cortana responded to John with when he asked, had anyone else made it off Alpha Halo before its destruction? Just Dustin Echoes. Just Dustin Echoes, as in Dustin Echoes from the Halo Infinite trailer. Just Desiccated Powder. 4 others in the Pelican. Pretty hard one there. They're still doing them pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Actually, they're still doing them daily.
Mm-hmm. I have to admit, that E3 trailer looks pretty good in 1080p too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look,
it looks a lot sharper than it used to.
If you look close enough, you can see the low poly of the carriers and some of the other artifacts. Yeah. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, considering what it was originally rendered to look like. Sure. And the hardware is originally rendered to run.
Yeah. Nope, for sure. All right. So that is going to wrap up today's episode. I want to thank you guys for listening or watching online. And again, thanks to Alex and Jesse from Finish the Fight, a Halo podcast, for being on our show, talking a little bit about the process, about the podcast, and just everything in general with them liking Halo. Next week, we're going to be talking about Halo Smoke and Shadow for our book review.
Yes, Dust actually finished another book.
Yes. Yes, I did. I am proud of it.
So everybody can settle their bets now.
Yes. So we're going to do Smoke and Shadow. We have to figure out when we're going to do the podcast next week, because I will not be here Thursday because we are leaving for a little anniversary trip, which we're still actually good to go. I got cleared from work, and the place that we're going is an hour away, and they're still open. So we're good. We're golden. But
now,
we'll figure out when we're doing the podcast next week. It'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday, and GT and I will figure that out, and then we'll make the post on social media and Discord. So it will not be Thursday next week, but next week will be our Smoke and Shadow discussion regardless. And Pins, shush. We will do this at some point, but shush. Shush you. And thank you, Trax, for the salutations on the anniversary. Appreciate it. So that'll be next week. Following week, I don't think we'll do Renegades, but we could.
We'll see what the schedule says.
Yeah. We have to see, because there's some other guests that I haven't scheduled yet. We have to see if they want, when they want to be on, that kind of stuff. So I know we have 3 different guests that we are looking at trying to get scheduled. So we'll let you guys know. I'll leave it at that. But that'll be for sure next week, and then we'll have another poll next week. Again, like I said earlier, not sure if it's going to be favorite campaign or something else, but we'll figure out. And yes, Danny, we are doing a book. Next week we're doing a book. Thank you. I'm now only 4 books behind. Only 4. 5 if you technically count the one that was announced last week. But only 4. So I've made progress. All right, wrapping things up. You can find us on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also find our live streams over at Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. And we stream 3 times a week. Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is our live recording of the podcast, which you're watching and listening to right now. On Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Fragging Fridays, which is our game night hosted by GT. And again, if you want to participate in Fragging Fridays and want to have a say in what game we play and what platform, then head on over to our Discord. We have a game night channel and cast your vote there. And then we also have my Achieving Halo streams on Sundays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Right now, still going through Halo Wars 2 with Bobby from the community. We have been saying if people are wanting to get involved with the streams, feel free to show up to the stream. Let us know that you want to get in on some of the achievement hunting, and let us know what achievements you want to get, and then you can join us if you want. If it's multiplayer stuff, since I'm still working on some of the multiplayer stuff, that's the best achievements to get involved with. But as we're going through some of the campaign stuff, we're happy to help you out there as well. You can also find us and interact with us socially. Again, we have a Discord, we have a Spartan Company, and an Xbox Club as well. You can find the podcast over on iTunes, Spotify, Google, TuneIn, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Just search for Podtacular, and you should be able to find us. Also, we have launched our Patreon page, finally. It's a couple of weeks after I wanted to get it out, but it's finally up and out there. So if you go on over to podtacular.com/Patreon, you will find our Patreon page. We have 6 tiers that you can look through and choose how you want to support us. We kind of split these out into different ways that you can kind of consume content from us. Hopefully it's something that we can keep going. We started off with some pretty basic stuff, and hopefully it's something that we can use to maintain. We already have 3 patrons, so thank you everyone who has supported us so far. The different tiers that we have is, first one is a listener tier, which is $2. And this gets you access to our show notes, so we will be posting those again. And then you get access to the Discord role, the Patreon Discord role in our Discord. For $3, and I guess I should say the tier names. The second tier is listener. Third tier is player. And for $3, you get all the tier 1 rewards for the listener. Plus, you get priority spot in game lobbies. So if we have a full lobby and you want to get in on it, then we will get you in there. We haven't had that issue so far. So you might not be able to take advantage of that right away, but as Infinite comes around and as we get more people participating in game nights, that might be something that you could use to secure your spot in game nights if you so choose. Next tier is the contributor tier. It's $4. This includes everything through tiers, the $3 tier through the player tier. And it also includes being able to vote in podcast topics and entry into Patreon-only giveaways. So I've got a whole bunch of Halo swag, and we'll still do giveaways on social media, through Twitter, the podcast, and that kind of stuff. But there'll be some Patreon-only giveaways that might have a few more costly items in there. So that's what you get for $4. For the viewer tier, which is $5, includes everything from the $4 tier, plus a monthly community topic nomination. So this is where you can actually nominate a topic, and then that is what will actually get voted on from the $4 tier, which is the contributor tier. And then you will also get access to the live stream VODs. So this $5 was to kind of match what we can do with Twitch right now. So if you're a Twitch subscriber, you actually get access to the VODs that we have on Twitch. Those expire after 2 weeks, but with this, we'll actually be posting our live stream VODs to YouTube, and then you can watch them there. and that'll be only available to patrons. For our shout out tier, which is our $7 tier, you get everything up through the $5 tier, the viewer tier, plus you get a shout out as a patron during the podcast and on YouTube videos. We'll try to incorporate those into streams. It just might be one of those things where we might forget in the rumble of things, but we'll try to make sure we do that on live streams as well. And then we have a $10 tier, which is the guest tier. This includes everything through the $7 tier, the shout out tier, and it includes a guest appearance on the show with a few caveats. It has to be coordinated with myself and GT, and you only get it once per year. You can only be a guest on the show at most once a year. And you have to be within the role for at least 4 months before we start working with you to see when you can be on the show. And then the last thing to the last tier is a Podtacular swag bag. So you have to be in the tier for at least 6 months, and it'll guarantee you a Podtacular t-shirt, a lanyard, and a wristband. It'll be free to anyone that's in the US. If we have international listeners that are listening to the show in the guest tier, then we will send those out if you will cover international shipping for us, because international shipping is a pain in the butt. So those are the different tiers that we have currently. We also have a few goals as well. These are kind of little stretch goals that we can use to hopefully get some things done for the community. The first goal that we have is being able to have a monthly commissioned artwork for our patrons. So if you guys are somewhat familiar with the Podcast Evolved and the Finish the Fight Patreon campaigns, it's very similar to that, where they have artwork that they will give exclusively to their patrons. And we would like to do something like that too. And there's lots of artists out there who are looking for commissions. So if we can hit that goal, then it would be something that we could use to get some extra content out there for you guys. And I think I have that set at $117, kind of a nice round Halo number. And then our second goal is, I think, at a $250 price point. I think I have to check what I said. I think it's $250, and that's where we will host a Podtacular hosted tournament with a cash prize. So tournaments is something that we've been wanting to do for a while, and if we get enough contributions on Patreon, then that's something that we could use to actually host tournaments. And I have a couple of wacky tournament ideas that I would like to try. So, yeah. Anyways, so that's a little breakdown of our Patreon campaign. So if you want to check it out, again, you can head on over to podtacular.com/Patreon. Even if you don't feel like you can give right now in that way, just check it out, see what's there, and yeah, take a look. We do have 2 people that do qualify for being shouted out. We have someone on the $7 tier and someone on the $10 tier. So thank you to Clifford Wilson and Laburkas. Hopefully I said that right. If I didn't, please reach out to us and let us know how to pronounce your name, and we will do that. But thank you for being one of the first adopters of our Patreon. Really appreciate it. You can also support the show by doing some purchases through Amazon. So I know a lot of people use our Amazon link, and we're going to try to do a little bit better at advertising it more. But if you head on over to podtacular.com/Amazon, you do that before you check out, we get a little bit back from purchases. It varies between what kind of stuff you're buying, but if you go through our Podtacular affiliate link before you check out, then you will help Podtacular in that way a little bit too. There's some pretty interesting things people purchase with that affiliate link too. I don't think we ever looked at last year's purchases, but we should probably do that at some point.
Do we want to look? I know what I bought.
Anyways, you can also donate to us directly if you would rather do that instead. We do have a PayPal donation link that you can use. I think podtacular.com/donate also works for that as well. So if you'd rather send us a one-time donation, feel free to do so that way. And then you can also check out the Halo Hub. It's a place where you can share a lot of community content. I'm going to try to work with Haas, who's the owner over there, to see if we can maybe work on highlighting some stuff from there over on the podcast here. So check out the HaloHub.com for that Discord server. And if you got some content that you create and you want to share, it's a good place to share it. Or if you are just a curator and just enjoy content and want to share it with other people, another good place to do that as well. That's the first time I've actually done a proper wrap-up, because since we're doing show notes for Patreon, I actually had to reformat the show notes. And I won't go through the whole Patreon thing next time, I think. Maybe once or twice more, maybe in a month or so, just for newer people. But that's going to be it for our show tonight. Did I miss anything, GT?
I think we got it all covered.
Okay. Well, with that said, please, everyone, be safe out there. Practice good hygiene. Be smart about your surroundings. Don't panic. Don't freak out. We'll get through this. Just keep your wits about you. And we hope to see people on our game night tomorrow. And if not, we'll catch you on the next episode of Podtacular. Until then, keep on fragging them trucks.